Good morning, I'm Steve Thompson, President of Emery Thompson Machinery, and welcome to Lunch with the President. This is our ongoing series of seminars that we do to try to teach you how to make old-fashioned hard ice cream, artisan gelato, Italian ices, fresh fruit sorbets, virtually anything that can be done on a batch freezer. A couple of quick ground rules. As you have questions, please don't hesitate to interrupt me and ask the question. Those of you watching on the internet worldwide, Sampong in Bangkok, Greg in Australia, we have a lot of people in different places. Just type into Ken and he'll give me the finger and tell me that you've got a question, and I'll try to get it answered right away. Don't let it wait until we get on to another subject, because we want to hear what your question is. And one of the things I'm going to try to do today, I try to do a theme nowadays when I do these. Last month, last session in March, we did basically Italian ices, and you can go to our website, emerythompson.com, and see that there. It's 4 hours of making Italian ices of different types and variations. You might see Sadie walking around every once in a while. She's head of security, so she's always checking out the area and the perimeter for safety. This one today, we're going to concentrate on hard ice cream and gelato, and trying to answer as many questions as we can. Some things have come up since the last session. How do I pick which size machine I want? I'd like to see the interior of the machine, so we're going to try to touch on that today. So as you type into Ken questions, keep that in mind, that anything is fair game, and we'll do our best to try to answer it. Good morning, welcome. We have some more people coming in. There's some chairs over there and a couple in the back.
It's a banner day here.
Yeah, we have a big crowd, and we'll just let them get seated and then we'll get going.
For those of you at home, there's at least 800 people here, so if you hear it's noisy or whatever, it's just the crowd.
Yes. This, by the way, is Tie-Dye Jeff. Jeff has Mystic Ice Cream in Central Florida here, and a fantastic business. And in a little while, we'll let you hear his story, how he went from rags to riches. And then basically starting off with a very, very small budget, and everyone telling him it couldn't be done, and now he's wildly successful, and the IRS is looking for him. We're going to get started today with our new baby. This is a brand new batch freezer that we just introduced a week ago. It's been in the works for over a year. It's a countertop Emery Thompson. It's built of all the same materials, designs, and construction as our very largest machine, the one that makes 11 gallons in 8 minutes. So we also anticipate this machine will have a lifespan of 45 years or more and have virtually no maintenance. So I'm going to start with this. I'm going to show you a little bit about it. I'll get this open. Everything is stainless steel construction. We don't use a plastic door like other companies do, because the plastic doors wear out. I don't use on any of my machines the cam action lock. You've seen them where a bolt slides over and closes down. They break in 5 years, which is fine for other companies, but we build for a much longer lifespan. So we either do a hinge door on the bigger machines or the removable door, which is very simple, and that's all stainless steel. I'll show you what the beater, we call it a dasher. That dasher is an old-fashioned term, and that's the beater that's inside. It's stainless steel with 2 large scraper blades that are spring-loaded. The beauty of the spring loading is that as the blades wear, because everything wears, as these wear over time, they're still going to be thrown out against the walls of the machine to scrape the ice cream, no matter how old the blades are. So we expect, instead of you having to change the blades on like you do on other machines every 6 months, these will go about 5 years. So I'll put this together and then we'll sanitize it. That just fits on there, and the 2 knobs. Now this machine is 3 quarts finished product, 3 quarts or 3 liters. It's got the capacity. A liter is slightly larger than a quart for those of you here in the United States. But the machine can do either 3 quarts or 3 liters in its allotted time, and it's going to run in about the same freezing time as the bigger machines, somewhere around 9 minutes to make ice cream, and about 15, 16 minutes for Italian ices. Let me backtrack a little bit. Ken, will the camera come over this way? This is a batch freezer. This is something that we all grew up with. We had one in the basement, and somebody would pull it out on 4th of July and make a quart of ice cream. And what you would do is you had a outer barrel and an inner barrel. And the outer barrel, you put rock salt and ice around it. Ice melts and freezes at 32 degrees Fahrenheit. You see that the lakes freeze in the wintertime, but the oceans never freeze. And the reason is because of the salt in the ocean. It reduces the freezing point of the ice. So we can get colder temperatures by putting rock salt in here, which is, crystals larger than table salt. So we have rock salt and ice in here. We have the inner cylinder where we pour in the milk, cream, sugar, skim milk, and our flavoring. And then we turn a crank for about 45 minutes. And after about 45 minutes, we get a quart of ice cream. The same concept is going on here with our batch freezers, but instead of rock salt and ice, we're using Freon gas, environmentally friendly propellant known as 404A. That's the latest and greatest Freon. That's our source of cold, and the barrel is surrounded by that cold. So the freezing time is going to be, instead of 45 minutes of turning a crank, it's going to be closer to 8 to 9 minutes. We started the company in 1903. My grandfather was working in a department store, a department store on 14th Street in Manhattan. And he was running these machines, and he was working 16 hours a day, and he was producing $100,000 worth of gross sales a year, which today is $1.2 million. So he was really working. And he went back to his house in New Rochelle, New York, a suburb of New York City, and invented the world's first mechanized batch freezer. Not the Italians, not Taylor, not Cappigiani, but Emery Thompson was the world's first machine. In fact, we were putting gelato into Rome, Italy 17 years before the Italians even made a machine. In 1919, a number of years later, he took the vertical cylinder and turned it sideways. And the reason he did that is Newton's law of gravity: whatever goes up must come down. So in these old machines, and there are some companies today still selling vertical freezers, but if you put cookies in the top, because of gravity, they're going to fall to the bottom. So your Oreo cookie ice cream will be thin of cookies up top and a lot of them in the bottom. With a horizontal batch freezer, everything gets mixed evenly. And since we're the only machines on the market where you can put whole nuts, candies, cookies into the machine, for every particle of vanilla dairy, there is a particle of Oreo cookie or a particle of strawberry or a chocolate chip right there. So we get a much more intense flavor than anyone else. We're going to sanitize the machine. I've been touching all the parts, and I have put bacteria in the machine, so we're going to get rid of that. I use a product called Sterashine, made by Purdy Products. And Sterashine is a chlorine-based product. It's you can get it on the internet. It's very good, very simple to use. In a pinch, if you're on a desert island with an Emery Thompson batch freezer, that would be a nice life. You can use a cap, not a cup, but a cap full of Clorox bleach to a gallon of water. That will do the same job as this, but the health department doesn't always know that. And they look at the idea that you're putting chlorine in your machine. And I've gotten old enough now that I've stopped fighting the good fight of saying, well, what do you think I put in my swimming pool but chlorine? So I keep this around, but in a pinch, a cap full of Clorox bleach to a gallon of water will sanitize the machine. Make sure that's closed. Here's my Sterashine mixture. And once I pour this in, it will have instantly killed any bacteria. But I'll turn the machine on and let that run for a little bit. The health departments will tell you how long. I know it kills bacteria instantly, but some may want it for 30 seconds or a minute. And of course, you always follow what the health department requires. You can hear how quiet that machine is, or maybe you can't even hear it running. But that's going to kill the bacteria. Any chemicals? Yes, a question.
Is there a quick question? How many gallons per hour does that little machine make?
Let's see. This one makes 9, so it's going to be about 4 to 4.5 gallons per hour. We're going to talk a little bit this morning about what's the best size machine for you, and I'll get into that more. Ken, you had a question.
We have a question from one of our friends in Australia. He says, Steve, how can you avoid not overloading the batch freezer? My friend said it's easy to do, especially with mango recipes.
Well, the batch freezer has a certain capacity, so all you have to do is follow your recipe. You can't overload and hurt the machine. If you put too much product in, it's going to come out the top. It's that simple. But basically, you follow your recipe. And we have hundreds of recipes up at our website, emerythompson.com. And a lot of them are for the larger machines, and all you have to do is cut them in half or cut them in a quarter, and you've got, you know, a perfect recipe. A recipe is nothing more than a good starting point. I guarantee you'll have great ice cream if you follow my recipes. But then what makes my ice cream different from Jeff's is he might take his is better. Yes. He'll take my basic recipe and concept of making ice cream, and he'll add his own personal taste to it. I might use an ounce of vanilla, he might like 3 ounces of vanilla. And that's what makes us different. Every ice cream parlor, they might all have Emery Thompsons, but just like everybody's got an oven at home, you're all baking different apple pies because you put your own personal recipe in. So we're going to drain this out. And the barrel, like all the Emery Thompsons, is pitched forward ever so slightly so that it's going to drain completely out of the machine. And if you follow the sanitizing directions, you don't have to do a rinse after this. So we'll just let that finish off, and then we're going to make a mango Italian ice. Someone asked this morning, what's the difference between mango Italian ice and mango sorbet? And it's the price. You can get more for mango sorbet than you can mango Italian ice, but they're the exact same product. Sugar, water, and flavor. Okay, well, I'm going to save this off to the side here because anything that's going to come in contact with the ice cream, like a spatula, I can just dip it in here and it's clean and it's ready to go. You know,
I see.
The Pope.
Yes.
That's my second job. Okay, always make sure that's closed.
Cleaning the floor. Nothing.
Okay. Jeff and I are very used to pouring product in, and you'll do it too. You're pouring it in, and it's going all over the floor, and you're going, oh, what's wrong? Is there a gasket missing or something like that? Is it leaking? Well, you didn't close the gate. So let me look at my recipe and see what we're going to do. Jeff, I need, if you'll help me, 44 ounces of water. And while you're doing that, I may be off camera for a second. I'm going to measure out a pound of sugar. I'm making a 3-quart batch of the mango. Now, on the sugar alone, sugar is sugar. It doesn't. This is the supermarkets down here are called Publix. It's a big chain in the South, and they have Publix sugar and they have Domino sugar. Domino costs more, and it's the exact same stuff. It's coming out of the same refinery in Georgia. There's no difference between the cheaper Publix sugar and the Domino sugar. You don't need anything special like bar sugar or super fine sugar, because sugar dissolves quite nicely in cold water. There's not a problem with that. Just getting that. I'm going to measure out
44 ounces you need?
44 ounces, please.
Okay.
Let me get my scale turned on.
How much sugar are you putting in?
1 pound. You got 1 pound of sugar and 44 ounces of water. I need a
sugar.
Yeah, there you go. Thanks. While you do that, I'll measure out the mango. Once this gets going, we'll talk about the different levels of Italian ice, but this is a mid-level, and just because I call it mid-level doesn't mean it's bad. It's excellent. This is the best way, I think, to make a mango Italian ice at an efficient price and easy. And this is a company called iRice out of Philadelphia. And this is a mango base, and so this is my flavor. You can just pour that right in there.
Because?
Sugar is going to dissolve very easily in cold water.
Them, I know.
Okay. I need now the 16 ounces of mango. Thank you. And I'll continue stirring this. You don't need to heat the sugar water mixture or anything. It's going to dissolve quite sufficiently. You'll pour that in. Okay, that's our mango base. And this is just about as simple an Italian ice as you can make.
And of course, he's about to tell you that what we'll do is pour that back in here and then back in so that
we'll get the extra bit of flavor. That's right. because we're paying for that base and we want to get all of it that we can. And then Jeff just stirs it up a little bit more because that's your flavor. Excuse me? The small machine is 3 quarts. Okay.
That's the finished product.
Yes, all my machines are rated by finished product. What really burns me, and I've put an article about this up on my website, is when you read the capacities of machines, what they do is they take their freezing cylinder and they say if we put it on end and filled it with water, it would be 5 quarts. And then they call their machine a 5-quart machine. It will never make 5 quarts. You can't fill a cylinder all the way and then agitate it. It'd be flying out everywhere. So they're misrepresenting their machines. All my machines are rated by finished capacity. When we say 12 quarts, it'll make 12 quarts. 24 is 24 quarts. The big one makes 11 gallons. So that's important to know if you're comparing apples to apples. Now I'm going to pour this in, see if I can do it without spilling.
How much flavoring did you use?
I used a 16 ounces of flavor. And these recipes are up on the website. So those of you watching can see that. Except for Jeff's. Jeff's keeping his close to the vest. All right, I'm going to put the lid on there and I'm going to turn that on. That's my beater. Now that's spinning. Now I'm going to turn on the refrigeration. And I'm going to set my own timer. Let me get my recipe. What did I say? This approximately 15 minutes. This is the only Emery Thompson that comes with a timer. And we don't do anything just for the heck of it. We put things on for a reason. I don't usually put timers on machines because I like to check the product myself. This one has a timer because it's also the safety shutoff for the machine. It's an automatic reset, and so our engineer who designed this model has made a very clever incorporation of that. Just the CB200 has a timer. All the rest of them, we don't have timers because when you make Italian ice, and when you make ice cream, what determines your freezing time is the sugar content. Now, ice cream is milk, cream, skim milk, and a little bit of sugar. Ice cream and gelato are very low in sugar, very high in fat. Italian ice or sorbet has no fat in it whatsoever, but it's very high in sugar. So the more sugar, the longer the freezing time. If I was making lemon ice, which is just a sugar, water, and flavor, it's pretty low in the sugar content because, of course, lemons are tart. So the freezing time might be a minute shorter. If I'm making the mango flavor, where'd that go? Right here. This mango flavor has a lot of sugar in it. So the more sugar, the longer the freezing time. If I'm using fresh strawberries, strawberries are sweet. And so that's fructose, and they're adding more sugar to the product. So I don't, being in business 108 years, I can put anything on my machine that I want. It's no big deal. But I purposely leave off the timer except the little one because this is going to a different market. I leave off the timer because I want you to just come by and check it. So the way I do it is I set a timer for about a minute or two before the product's going to be ready. So I can be over here never talking on the phone. Don't be taking phone calls. Don't be talking to other personnel like Jeff. You're over here getting your sugar ready, your flavor ready, your water ready for the next batch so that you're busy. You want to get out and go to the beach. So you have everything planned for the next batch. The bell goes off, I come over and I look at it and say, oh yeah, that looks good, that's okay. And then, or I'll give it another minute and then I dump it out and immediately start the next batch. You don't have to rinse between batches if you plan your production correctly. You start with the light flavors and work down. So if I was making Italian ice today for a store, I would start with a lemon ice. Then I would make orange ice. They're both citric, and any tiny bit of lemon that's left in the machine will merge quite nicely with the orange. From orange, I might make raspberry, which is darker. And then after raspberry, I might make grape, which is much darker. And then I might make black raspberry or blue ice after that. So I'm making all these batches without rinsing. But the discharge of the machine is so simple that if I did have to rinse, I'd just put a couple of quarts in here, turn it on, let it run for 30 seconds, and then dump it out. Question.
You don't change the blades between hot ice cream and it's the same blade?
I'm going to repeat the question because the people on the internet may not be able to hear you. The question was, do we have to change blades or dashers between different products? No, that's the Italian machines. We don't do that. We have a dasher system that we've been, again, making for 108 years that is going to work on all products. And then if you are getting into different air content products, now why would you want different air content? Well, we put Haagen-Dazs into business, Breyers into business, Ben & Jerry, Bluebell, and right there you have a dichotomy of products. You have Haagen-Dazs is a very low air content, Breyers is the highest air content. Ben & Jerry's is a low air content, Hershey's is a medium to high. With the infinite overrun control on these bigger machines, you can vary the speed of the machine so that you can make Haagen-Dazs at 1 minute and you can make Breyers the next. No one else has that. It's something I invented 11 years ago and nobody's been able to copy it yet. And what makes it unique is you say, well, gee, why don't I just put a rheostat on it? You know, if you have your dining room and you've got your lights, you can dim down your lights using a rheostat. You just slide the lever up and down. Well, when you've got 100 watt bulbs in your dining room and you dim them down to a romantic 15 watts, you're taking the power away from the light bulb. It's no longer a 100 watt light bulb, it's a very weak 15 watt light bulb. Put that same control on a machine like this, and now your drive motor, in this case, let's say 1 horsepower or 3 horsepower, this is no longer a 3 horsepower drive motor, it's a 1/4 horse. Well, we've got a liquid turning to a semi-solid and it doesn't have the pulling power to spin at a 1/4 horsepower. It's no good. With my infinite overrun control, no matter what speed I spin this at, I am still going to have the full 3 horsepower of drive. And that's what makes it so unique. So instead of having to buy 2 machines, one for gelato and one for everything else, the Emery Thompson does it as just one. Now these are all made in the USA here at our factory in Brooksville, Florida. We were in the Bronx, New York, which can bring up all sorts of fun stories, for 100 years. You had a question?
Yeah, so you make the 5 flavors that you just mentioned, so without having to clean it. Once you run to clean the unit, do you use the sanitized water or just pure water to make the
No, pure water.
The question is, if I am cleaning out between, say, that black raspberry and now I'm going to go into vanilla ice cream, I'm just using plain tap water. As long as I don't open the door and put my hands in there and touch any of the parts, I have not broken the sterility of the machine. So I can run for the next 8 or 10 hours. I mean, I'm going to drop. The machine is going to do just fine. We have many, many countries where labor is inexpensive and they're running these machines, all our machines, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's what these machines are designed to do. But if Jeff and I decide to take a lunch break for an hour and a half, my wife Paula is going to kill us, but when we come back, we have left the machine for so long we would re-sanitize the machine. If we take our usual 2-minute lunch break and come right back, well, everything has stayed so cold in here we don't have to re-sanitize. So you can hear how quiet that is. Now this machine has a specific market, but let me back up and tell you a little about the CB350, which came out, I brought this out 4 years ago, before the CB200. When we designed this looking at a certain specific market, and that market was high-end restaurants who wanted small quantities of ice cream and sorbets on a daily basis.
Or me.
Or Jeff, starting up a small business. Well, I didn't see Jeff coming. I'm focusing in on the supermarket, on the high-end restaurants, and then the Obama recession comes along and people are without jobs, they don't want to go on welfare, they want to make money for their family, so they say, instead of buying this thing for $21,000, I can buy this for $9,650 and I'm in the ice cream business. But Jeff, you're going to have to run this little thing 10 hours a day. And a person like Jeff says, it doesn't matter. It's either I get into business with this and I make money, or I can't get into business. So we have sold thousands of these to people who couldn't afford to get into business. And it has put them into business, and now they're making so much money, 2-3 years later, they're actually buying the bigger machines so they can cut down on their labor. Yes? Ken?
Michael wants to know if you can use other sweeteners like Splenda or Nativa instead of sugar?
The question is, well, let me show one and then I'll let Jeff answer that. This thing over here is I'm a type 1 diabetic. I'm not supposed to eat any of this stuff. I'm insulin dependent. They measure how bad a sugar is for you on a scale of 0 to 100. It's called the glycemic scale. Sugar comes in at about 94. That's real bad for me. Here is agave, which is usually made to use tequila. I think that's a much better use for it. But we can use it to make Italian ice, agave nectar. And on the scale of 0 to 100, this comes in at 27. So although I still shouldn't be eating it, I'm going to cheat once in a while. And this will be a better product for me than would the sugar. You can also make a quote-unquote sugar-free Italian ice, which I would never touch. You know, if you're going to have a good Italian ice, do it right. You can use a product called multidextrin in combination with Splenda. Now, I love Splenda, it's great, but it doesn't have enough of what we call solids to freeze properly in any environment, in any machine. So, the multidextrin is a chemical which will allow you to freeze it in the machine, but it has a very adverse reaction that it says on the package, if you eat more than a small quantity of this, you might have stomach distress. That's a polite way of saying you're going to get diarrhea from the product. And I hate to say it, but there's no other way to say that. But you want to talk about that.
The simple answer is no. You can't use artificial sweeteners. When you take a pill for something, the side effects mean that you have to take another pill to combat those side effects. And it's the same thing with artificial sweeteners. You're going to have a taste that now you have to overcome, so you have to add something else to smooth it out. As far as the honey, agave, and all this other stuff, you ever have a cup of tea and your wife or husband says, you know, put some honey in it and you'll feel better. And she puts a teaspoon of honey in and you taste it, well, that's not sweet enough. It never is. So you got to add more honey. Before you know it, you're adding this much honey for your cup of tea to make it taste like sugar. So this is dessert that we're talking about. It's unilaterally a luxury optional product. So if people are coming to your store for dessert, sell them the best dessert you can. Every night people come into my store, do you have sugar-free? And I say no. And what do? They sit down and they have ice cream. I'll never make sugar-free ice cream because the taste is going to be very recognizable. My product, I make the best ice cream in the world. If I were to use sugar-free sugar substitutes, then it wouldn't taste like that, and it would be everyone else's ice cream. So the simple answer is no.
One quick thing that Jeff said.
And it's much more recognizable in Italian ices and cream ice before you get to the premium ice cream. Artificial sweetener, you can hide it in premium ice cream, but you can never hide it in Italian ices or cream ice.
And did you hear Jeff say that he makes the best ice cream in the world? Every one of my customers makes the best ice cream in the world, and that's the attitude that you want to have. I used to get the question, who makes the best ice cream in the United States? And I'd go, well, let's see, there's By-Rite in San Francisco, and there's this person, there's that person. The proper answer is, I make the best ice cream, or Jeff makes the best ice cream, because you want to have the confidence in your product.
But in my case, it is true.
But in your case, okay, well, I have to agree, your ice creams are great. And part of what I do with the videos is people look at them and they have the same reaction that you do. That you go, if this Rube can make this product, imagine what I could do.
That's right.
And it's so true. I'm here to show you how simple it is. Yes?
I had a question. I just want to talk a little bit about flavorings.
Mm-hmm.
And I know one difference between you and Jeff is Jeff's ice cream, he gets real fruits and he juices them, and that's what he uses it. And he kind of believes that he likes it good, that flavor. I wanted to ask you about that with Italian ice or
Okay.
Gelato.
The question's about flavoring, and I'll get into that one second. This product's ready, so I want to dump it. Again, it's an approximation. Watch this. You see how nicely that comes out. And I'll give you all a chance here in the studio to try it.
In the studio?
Jeff, your 400 people kind of dwindled down.
350
They're
or
on a
so.
coffee break. Now, this machine I designed, as I was saying before, that this one I designed for high-end restaurants and people who couldn't afford to get into business. We put them into business. Our success rate is almost 100%. This is designed for high-end restaurants. It's 5,450, and I know full well there's people of you in the audience who are saying, if I just had that machine, I could be in the Italian ice business. I can't argue with you. I would have tried a few years ago, but I can't. It will put you into business.
This is stage talk. Move.
Move forward. Okay. We're going to serve this to everyone now. Jeff, there's over there are spoons, and that's all there is to it. Now take a look at that. That is a beautiful product and very simple to make, as you saw. Real nice color, and this has great mango flavor. So if you'll all come up, I promised you all the ices and ice cream you could eat, plus a free lunch. So come on up, and we're going to serve you some of this.
Let's see if it's good.
When we talk about creaminess in Italian ice, what controls that is the sugar content. The more sugar in the product, the smoother it is. In New York, we call this Italian ice. In Philadelphia, they call it Italian water ice. Same product. If I was in a real Italian neighborhood, Bay 8th Street in Brooklyn, they're going to be selling a product called Granita or Granite. And Granita, okay, Granada.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And the Granada is going to be a coarse product. It's going to have a large ice crystal, and it's what they're intending to sell. I can then move over to Queens or Manhattan, and I'm going to sell a different ice, but the only change is going to be instead of 6 pounds of sugar in a bigger machine, I'm now going to go to 7 pounds of sugar. That's going to be a New York ice. These are all these great secrets that everybody tells you can't do. More sugar is a smoother product. Now you get down to Philadelphia, and the product is even smoother, and it's 8 pounds of sugar. 8 pounds of sugar is going to make a very, very smooth product. This is more of an Italian, Philadelphia style ice, and so it's very, very smooth. And that's the only difference is the sugar, 6, 7, or 8 pounds of sugar. So my lemon ice formula, my secret lemon ice formula is 7 pounds of sugar, 14 quarts of water, 2 quarts of fresh squeezed lemon juice, and then you take 6 California lemons and a cheese grater and just grate off what a chef calls the zest. I just call it the specks. And you throw that into the machine, and you end up with a pure white product with little specks of lemon in it. It's beautiful, and it's got a great taste.
How much more sugar could you put in there to make it creamier? You put a pound, right?
Each pound of sugar is going to make it creamier. At some point in time, it's going to get so sugary that nobody will like it.
No, I know, but I'm saying to make it...
8 pounds would be the maximum amount of sugar.
Machine for this batch that you use.
Probably a pound and a half.
That's what I want.
Yeah. Yes?
Refined sugar is the best option. No brown sugar or...
Brown, any time they change sugar of any kind, you're adding different tastes, just like Jeff said. So brown sugar is going to have a different taste than cane sugar. No, I wouldn't use it. There is another product.
I have some recipes that I use brown sugar for.
But you're trying to get that taste.
Like my maple walnut ice cream, right?
Yep. You're going for that taste. There's another product that you often see, high fructose corn syrup. And that is the garbage of the industry. And that's put in there because it's cheap. And I really have a problem with that, because this product I just served you cost me about 1.5 cents per ounce. So to give you a 1/4 pound of Italian ice cost me 6 cents. And I'm going to sell it for $1.50, $2. So what if I can drop that price by using high fructose corn syrup from 1.50 pennies down to a penny? You know, I'm going to make 2 cents more, but I'm going to gum up the product. I'd rather have a product that people say, that is so great, I'm coming back for more, rather than have a product that say, oh, it's cold and I'm hot. You know, I want to do a little better than that. One other thing Jeff was saying, though, about not selling sugar-free products and the fact that we are selling frozen desserts. You have to always understand, the business you're in is you're selling a frozen dessert. You're selling a treat, a prize, a reward. If I've been on a diet for 6 months and I haven't had any beef, I am not going to break my diet by running over to McDonald's and getting a double cheeseburger. I'm going to Ruth Chris or Morton's or wherever I think is the best steak, and I'm going to get myself a filet mignon. So the same thing with frozen desserts. No, as Jeff said, no, I don't have any sugar-free, but wait till you try this one. This is just so high in calories, it'll knock your socks off, but you're going to love it. And that's what they buy. You're up next, and I hope you'll tell them about this incredible book of yours.
Well, the reason I want to mention this, somebody asked about you asked about the ingredients and everything. My philosophy differs from most people, and what I do is I want people to go supermarketing. That's where I found that's where I still find all my products, and that's where you can too. There's no question, and I'm not bragging because it's absolutely the truth. Actually, I'm bragging. With this countertop machine and this book, you're in business. There's no question. You can buy the more expensive, larger, voluminous books, but they're very confusing and they're not made for the real world. All these products over here, you know I don't use them, and all these products over here, I don't use them. And you'll see, we're going to make 3 or 4 flavors today, and you'll see the incredible simplicity of this business. Everybody makes much more of it than you have to, and that's not your fault. It's because that's what you've been taught. You've been taught, I made a list here of what you will need, and you probably all have this list also. They're going to tell you that you need a batch freezer, a hardening cabinet, a dipping case, a walk-in freezer, the proper furniture, the proper lighting, signage, apparel, the proper apparel. You're going to need the best location, and you're going to have to put money into advertising and promotions. With the exception of one item on that list, it's bogus. You don't have to do it. This is an industry that should be so simple, and it is for me. I started out 3 years ago sitting right over there watching this guy make ice cream. And honestly, I left saying, well, I can make better ice cream than that. And I still believe that. He makes the best machine in the world. I make the best ice cream in the world. But because I had no money, I knew that I needed one thing. I needed this. They're the world's, he doesn't pay me to say this, and we don't even go to dinner at all. This is the best machine in the world. For one simple reason. Well, 2 reasons. It's built like a tank. It'll never fail you. And I make, believe it or not, I make 30 to 50 gallons of ice cream a day. My machine is a workhorse. I've graduated. I got rid of this and I have this now. But they are workhorses. And the second most important thing about that machine is you can dump anything into it, and that will give you the best ice cream in the world. Other manufacturers, and I've done my homework, you can't add nuts and chips. They tell you to add it on extrusion. When it's coming out, you add the chips, you add the nuts, you add the fudge. That's not going to give you great ice cream. What you're going to have is vanilla ice cream with stuff in it or chocolate ice cream with stuff in it. The way to really infuse your ice cream with flavor, and you'll see we're going to do it now, is to throw everything in there so that the cream and let's say even just chocolate chips, the chocolate chips are breaking up and you get thousands of little particles, and every bite of ice cream has that chocolate chip flavor to it. So you really, on this list, you need one thing. You need one of these batch freezers. I would recommend this one, although he's trying to sell this one. It's a great machine, but you'll outgrow it in a week. Unless you own a restaurant. That's what this is for. If you own a restaurant and want to come up tonight with strawberry mango delight on your menu, this is the machine. You whip it up and it's done. It's fresh and it's great. I ran a business with this machine for 1.5 years. I was working hard because I had to make a lot of ice cream, but it served me well, and I didn't have to pay any attention to it. It's a great, great machine. Then I treated myself. After 1.5 years, I didn't know what to do with my money, so I went and bought this one. Okay, so one of the things we're going to make, all the recipes that we're going to make are in the book. And I don't have to promote the book because we sell hundreds and hundreds all over the world. But it is, this book, this machine, you're in business. No doubt about it. Here.
Thank you.
Okay,
You're giving me a book? You've never given me a book.
No, so I started out very small, and I made a few flavors in the house, and then I figured out that I had 6 great flavors. The neighbors were loving me, and they're in the book. So I made those 6, and I needed a place. I found a room in the back side of a gym, and I rented a room. Small sink, rented a room. And I was selling, because he told me to restaurants. I had a great product, and I would go and give samples. I would go with a cooler and little tubs of samples, and I would give them to restaurants. And of course, they all liked it, and I was eager. So I said, I'll deliver every other day. Just give me a day's notice. I'll make it fresh for you. I'll make any flavors you want, anything you want. And so I built up a few restaurants, and I thought, I'm going to be a zillionaire. This is the greatest thing in the world. However, after about a month, because I would go to them, I would make my service calls, and I would stop in the restaurants once, twice, 3 times a week to check on the product, see if they needed more. Well, what I found was, in charge of my baby, my ice cream in these restaurants were young waitresses and young waiters who just didn't give a crap. They would leave the tops off. They would leave the freezer door open. And every time I went there, I looked at it, it wasn't even what I made. It had frost all over it, the bottom of the tub, it looked disgusting. So I made a decision. No more selling to restaurants. I pulled it all out, and then I discovered that retail is the way to go. You may find a different way to go, but to me, retail is the way to go. You get incredible satisfaction right there, one-on-one. They buy your product, they eat it, they love it. They love you. They shower you with praise. I need that. So I made ice cream for 2 years, little over 2 years. And then I thought, well, I keep 34 flavors fresh every day with no preservatives. No emulsifiers, no stabilizers, no preservatives. You don't need it. Just make sure you sell it. So after a while, I said, well, maybe there's another product I can tap into. And a friend of mine owns a store that sells what's called cream ice. If you don't know what cream ice is, it's Italian ices with a little dairy in it. It's really sherbet, but cream ice sounds so hip. And I'm going to make that today because about, 2 months ago, I made a batch of cream ice, and they went crazy for it. So now I have cream ice on the menu. It's so simple, and the profit margin from cream ice to premium ice cream is ridiculous. Italian ice is the best profit. 2 cents, $1.50. 4 cents, $3. It's a no-brainer. But cream ice is darn close to that because the amount of cream you're going to use, this is what I call cream, and you'll get used to these. These come from any good dairy or company in the country or in the world. I've found them for people all over the world. And all it is a mixture of cream, skim milk, sugar, right? Mm-hmm. And it's called ice cream mix. And this is what we use. And it's great. Yes, sir?
What's the butterfat in it?
Well, you can get the fat content. Now, here's something
14.
people...
This one today is 14.
Oh, I don't use 14. I use 10. And using 10, people come in, do you have any fat-free? I say, oh yeah, my ice cream's 90% fat-free. And they are amazed. Really? Your ice cream's 90% fat-free? Yeah, because I use 10% fat mix.
Let me just speak a little bit on that, and then Ken will take your question. The butterfat levels, the federal government says if you want to call this product ice cream, it has to be at least 10% fat. Anything below 10% fat, when I was growing up, the federal term for it was ice milk. Boy, does that sound horrible. So in order to get around the term ice milk, products like yogurt came out, gelato came out, because these don't have U.S. federal regulations of what they are. They can be anything. But we talk, right now we're talking about ice cream. So a minimum of 10%, and I think the highest I've seen in the country is 17 out in Santa Barbara, California. We get people calling up all the time that haven't learned yet about ice cream, and they say, well, if they're selling 16% in my neighborhood, I want to sell 45%. The stuff would make you violently ill to have that high of fat content. In New York, we had, I learned something very unique when we moved down to Florida 8 years ago and put our factories down here. In New York, we had what I call the fat wars. If you're selling 14% fat, then I'm going to sell 16, just so I can say, I'm the richest ice cream in New York. And we get away with that in the Northeast and through a lot of different parts of the country. Down here in the South, it is so hot in July and so humid that if you had a 14 or a 16% fat ice cream and walked outside, you'd probably drop dead. And if you didn't drop dead, you'd have a terrible stomach ache and nausea and everything else because your body can't assimilate that much fat. So the New Yorkers coming down to Florida, their ice cream parlors were failing because people would go in, they'd get the ice cream, and they would eat it and it would make them feel sick. And they don't say, oh, I feel sick because of that high fat content. They say, I feel sick because that ice cream parlor gave me bad product, and then they never come back. Jeff learned early on what I did, and that is in the South here, or in very hot climates, we sell a lower fat product so that it ends up what we always are reaching for is a refreshing product that after you finish it, you say, that was so good, I'd like to have another one. So just like a lot of terms in our industry, don't get hooked up on one term. Don't get hooked up on what's the fat content. It's like talking about air. With the Infinite Overrun, I can give you any air content you want. But I have yet to meet the person who walks out of an ice cream parlor and says, out of Jeff's ice cream parlor, says, man, that's the best damn air content ice cream I've ever eaten. People don't eat air, they eat flavor. And that's what Jeff's business is all about, is flavor. Take it away.
Okay.
Jeff, your ice cream mix, what's in that? That pre-mix that you have?
That's the standard in the industry. It's milk, it's cream, skim milk, and sugar.
And whole milk.
And whole milk. It's the best part of those four things. But, you know, you don't have, where do you live?
Well, I live in Miami, but my place is in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware.
Okay, then within 30 miles, you'll find a dairy that'll sell that.
And in Rehoboth Beach, you'll probably sell about a 14% like we're making today.
Now, I have a choice when I buy it. I can buy 10%, 12%, 14%, or then they get into 16%, and some wackos go even more. But I use 10%. I've tried 12 and 14%, and to me, it's too thick. You'll taste it. You'll see what you think. Yes, Ken?
Well, this is a question for Jeff. When you first went into business, how many flavors did you start with?
6. I started with 6, and they're in that book. The 6 flavors, I still have them today because they're incredibly great flavors, and I built everything off of that. And the 6 flavors, I didn't know any better. So instead of buying this stuff that you see behind me and on the side here, I would just take my wife and we would go to supermarkets and we would look down the shelves and we would see things that, oh, that's interesting. Let's try that. And I'll show you how we make a recipe. That's in the next book is coming out Friday, and it's how to make a recipe and how to succeed in business without really trying. But last time here we made M&M ice cream, and it had a whopping 3 ingredients. It had ice cream mix, it had vanilla, and it had M&Ms, right? And that was it. And today we're going to do 2 of them that are just like that. And they're incredibly easy, simple, inexpensive, great, and none of this other stuff that's here. Okay,
Not giving away the secret of what he's going to do later, but I've made M&M ice cream for years. And the one problem with M&M ice cream is the flavor. Maybe they don't melt in your hands, but they bleed out in the ice cream. So you've got all this color coming out. By me just throwing M&Ms in, I was throwing them in as they came out of the machine. What Jeff did was so simple. I'm sitting there going, why didn't anybody else think of this? He ground up the M&Ms in a blender and poured them in. So what he was talking about before, about being able to put everything into the machine, for every particle of vanilla mix, there was a particle of M&M next to it, and it just jumped out at you.
Okay, that's enough. So, today, the first thing I'm going to make is what's called cream ice. Now, you can make a business just selling cream ice. A friend of mine does it in South Florida. He has 55 flavors of cream ice, and that's it. He does have a freezer in the back with four or six flavors of working cow ice cream that's so old, it looks like it's 100 years old. Nobody buys that. But he has 55 flavors of cream ice. And has anybody here ever had cream ice? Great.
I have.
Of course you have.
It's great.
Okay, so today we're going to start with a cream ice. I don't know why, but that's what he put on the schedule. And you'll see the simplicity, great profit potential in this. Now, this recipe, you don't have to write it down, I'll give it to you. And for those of you at home, it has, these are the 4 ingredients in it. Water, sugar, ice cream mix, which I call cream. I just always refer to it as cream because basically that's what it is. And if you didn't have a dairy, you could make it with cream. And vanilla. Now, speaking of vanilla, Steve knows that I use a lot of vanilla. Every quart of ingredient, I use 1 ounce of vanilla, which goes against the industry. People put 1 ounce of vanilla or 2 ounces of vanilla in 20 quarts of, I use 1 ounce per quart of product. So today we're using 3 quarts of water and 1 quart of mix. That's 4 quarts. So how much vanilla are we going to use? 4 ounces. Smart group. 4 ounces of vanilla.
There are 2 fantastic vanillas in the country that I recommend. One is what Jeff's got there in his hand, Lockhead, and the other is Nielsen Massey. And these are 2 far and above better than anything else available. Great stuff. Yeah, a question? No?
Can you repeat those vanillas again, the flavor?
What?
How much he's using?
Repeat the name.
The names of the 2 vanillas is one is Nielsen, Nielson, Massey, Massey, and the other is Lockhead, Lochead. They're both family businesses.
Where are they?
Lochead. Nielsen Massey is in the Chicago area. You'll find them on the internet. And Lockhead is in Colorado.
Now, what's going to separate your ice cream from everybody else's is your attention to detail. My ice creams are very bold flavors. And you heard the ingredients that we're using. We're using water, sugar, mix, and vanilla. Well, anybody can do that. So what's going to make yours better? This will help. These are vanilla beans. And vanilla beans are ridiculously expensive. However, here's tip number 1 today. You don't have to buy the top premium beans as whole beans. Companies sell what they call splits. When the vanilla beans get so ripe, when they're growing and they get so ripe, they split open. And they can't sell them as grade A number 1. Now these are grade A bourbon vanilla beans from Madagascar. But they're splits. So instead, and I just brought this, I buy them in the pounds. This is a 1/4 pound, I think, 1/8 of a pound. But great, save money, and you'll see how we work with them. So they all come vacuum sealed, and I'll give you the place I get them from if you want it. Do any of your suppliers sell beans?
Go ahead and tell them.
Well, okay, we'll wait on that. So,
Those beans, right? That's
What?
the secret. That's the secret. That's what makes it so good.
no doubt. Have any of you worked with vanilla beans before? I'll show you how we're going to do it. Oh, by the way, I also use 1 bean for every quart. I use a lot of beans, and you'll see the flavor comes through. Vanilla is not, that big a flavor. But, for instance, I make rum raisin ice cream, and I use vanilla beans in it, and it's ridiculous how good it is. So I would suggest that you buy good, high-quality vanilla beans. They come from 3 places. They come from Mexico, they come from Tahiti, and they come from Madagascar. Recently, what I do now is I make my own, since I use so many beans, I make my own vanilla, liquid vanilla, which is so great. I take cheap vodka, and I put the scrapings of these in a sealed, like a what do you call it, jar? What are they, those ball jars? And then I label it with the date. Every week I turn it upside down or whenever I pass it. And then in a month, I have a rotating supply of great vanilla. Now recently I started using bourbon, cheap bourbon, and I do the same thing, and I gotta tell you, it beats any vanilla I've ever used. It's just amazingly good, because you know the alcohol, vanilla, all the vanillas here have alcohol in it.
That's right.
Say yes.
Not a lot.
No, not a lot. Mine has a lot, which is okay. Okay, so I don't know that he can get this in this CBS-like studio here. I'm talking myself out of a job.
Yeah, it's called Fox, not
okay,
CBS.
so what I do is I have a very simple plastic cutting board, not wood, plastic. And I take my, today we're using 4 beans, and you can see that they have split. See that? Can you see that at home? They've split, which just means that they're too ripe to sell as premium beans. So they sell them at a tremendous discount, which is great for us. Okay, so what we do first is we cut off the tail ends, and I used to throw all these scraps away, but of course now, put it in my jars and I make vanilla. And I gotta tell you, it's the simplest thing to do if you're gonna use beans, and you should use beans. It's free, it's like free vanilla. You know that real vanilla is like $300 a quart now for the pure vanilla. Well, you can make it just as good. They're hating me for this. Okay, so I cut off the ends, the nibs here, on both sides. What was that? Cell phone, right? I have great hearing. Okay, and then we take a single bean, and with a good little knife, like a pencil, even though it's split, we just go right down the bean on it. And we do that on all 4 beans. You can even go along the same line as the split, but you don't have to. You can just as long as you split them. And it's almost fun. You feel like a real chef doing this. You feel like a real chef doing this. Okay, so after they're split, I take the flat end of the knife and I split the bean, and I take the flat end of the knife and run it down. You see that? That's all those little specks you get in the vanilla, and that's all the flavor. It's unbelievable what a difference this makes. So you should do it. Now it's not an expense. You know what it is? It's work, you know, but it's pride also, knowing that your ice cream, and it's not just for vanilla-based ice creams, use it for all your ice creams. And then I go down the other side. So you simply split the bean, take your knife, I wish you all could see this close up, and you run it down, and look at all that. That is it. That's the beans right there, the pods in the beans. Then I go the other way, get the rest of it out, and I put it in the mix here because in this machine it's going to mix it up good enough for us.
The other side of the other side of
You didn't raise your hand. No, I'm just kidding. What?
You didn't do the other side of the beans? You scrape it with this one side of the scrape?
Yeah, well, the pods, the seeds are on the inside.
Okay.
Like when you eat a peach, the pit's on the inside. Don't get smart. All right. So I squeeze them out and get all this stuff. I don't want to include stuff like that, you know, that stuff, but that'll be good for my vanilla mixture.
You put this in all your ice cream, or just?
I do. I do. I tell you, I make the best ice cream in the world. And you'll see. Now, this is cream ice, and you haven't had it, so you may think, so-so. But later on, you're going to taste real premium, super premium ice cream. And, oh, look at that. Look at that. You see that? That's the goods. And from 4 beans full, 4 stuff from the beans, it's great. And you just put it in here, and I treat this stuff like gold. And the reason I don't use a wooden one is because what would I be putting in the mix right now? Wood shavings. Now there's a little here, and since we have sanitized this table, we're good. And that's what it's going to look like, just like that. And if you've ever had like a real great plain vanilla ice cream, you see little dots in it, all the little dots, and you say, oh, this is good ice cream. These are the dots.
If you're from New York, we think it's dirt.
Okay, and we have a raffle later for the scraps of vanilla beans, so you can get your tickets now.
So, she asked you, I'm sorry,
Yes.
she asked you in regards to using the vanilla beans only with vanilla ice cream
No.
or all the?
I don't use it in all the ice creams. Some ice creams you don't want that flavor. But more often than, I do use vanilla in, I would say, 99.9% of my ice creams. 1 ounce per quart of ingredient.
So I think people are a little confused here. You're not saying that you're getting all your vanilla flavor from the beans. This is just an enhancement. You are
Correct.
using a quality vanilla.
Not only is it an enhancement, this is really the better part of the flavor.
But you couldn't make it without the other.
No, I wouldn't make it without the other.
Right, so you're not saying don't use a
Oh no, I
high-quality
use
vanilla.
both. I
Yeah.
use both. I use the liquid and the beans. Everybody in the country uses the liquid vanilla. Everybody when they make their ice cream. But I would say the beans, what would you say, 5% of the people use beans?
Yeah.
They just don't take care to do it. But wow, is it going to make your ice cream better?
The ice cream mix, how long does it stay fresh, and can you
Hopefully you don't need it fresh for a long time.
can you freeze it?
I freeze it. I get 60 gallons a week delivered every Tuesday night. And if I don't have to make ice cream right then, because it comes thawed, then I freeze it. It'll take a while to freeze, so if you have to use it tomorrow or the next day, it's still sort of gelatinous in there. But how long will it last? I don't know. It's frozen like a rock when it's, when you freeze it. I mean, it's like cement. So it'll last forever.
3 months.
3 months?
Yeah.
Well, I think their question was also, is there a date code on the bag if you just keep it in the
There is a
refrigerator?
date code, and I'll take this while you continue.
Okay.
We got to move it along.
Oh.
There is a date code on it. There's different ways of putting the blend together. The reason I hate the term mix. It's a blend, as we've said, milk, cream, sugar, skim milk. And it's put together at the dairy. These are professionals. These are people whose livelihood is buying this from the farmers and putting it together in the proper percentages. And then the life of it is going to be dependent on how they pasteurize it. If they use a normal pasteurizing method, it's going to be good for about 7 to 10 days. If they use ultra high temperature UHT pasteurization, it could be good for weeks on end. Yes, you can freeze mix. The better way of doing it, though, is to use it fresh when you get it. Jeff and I will be disagreeing on a lot of things today. I like to, and the typical ice cream parlor doesn't have the time to make ice cream fresh every single day. They don't have that luxury. They have to make, say, 20 or 30 gallons of vanilla and put it into a flash freezer so they have it on hand when the demand comes. But we'll go into that a little bit more.
Okay.
You'll start this
All right, I'll
out.
hurry it up now. All right, so the basic ingredients, water, sugar, vanilla, and what do you call it, mix? Mix? What do you call this? Blend. Okay, water, sugar, vanilla, and blend. And the vanilla beans. And as Steve told you before, sugar dissolves in water easily. So we'll just give that a mix. I'm using this one?
Yep.
Okay.
It's all
Is it
sanitized.
Okay. All right, so very simply, water and sugar. You want to know how much? What happened to yes, please? Yes, sir. Okay, so the
See, you
water
think your
goes
iron
in.
skillet.
And always make sure the gate's closed, because every month I do this and it comes shooting out. So this is water and sugar. And you see, we didn't get all the sugar because it didn't dissolve, so vanilla. And just get the rest of it in there. Now, chips. I add chocolate chips. However, I like to use the minis. They're much better. but I mistakenly bought, I buy 25 and 50-pound bags of chips, and I mistakenly got the big ones. So what we're going to do is we're going to put them in here, and we're going to make minis. But we're also going to get little tiny specks. You'll see it adds a lot of flavor. Hold your ears now. Okay, this is invaluable, a good food processor. Okay, now we're going to add, get the rest of the vanilla. And now we're going to add the blend and the vanilla. What I like to do is start the machine before I add this so that it's mixing right away. Is that all right? What speed would you put this on?
Full speed.
Full speed ahead, Captain?
Yes.
230?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. The mix goes in with the vanilla. And then we're going to add the chocolate chips, which are now chocolate chips and chocolate dust. And use the best quality. This goes without saying, use the best quality you can get. These are Hershey's terrific dark chocolate, what are they called? Semi-sweet chocolate chips. And they go right in with all the, see the dust and everything from that? It's going to enhance the product.
Is your refrigeration on?
No. Now the refrigeration's on. Would have been here a long time. Pardon my back. Okay, and this will take, whoops, sorry. I'm not used to being on Broadway here. Okay, you got the timer ready?
How long is it going to take?
How long should it take? By the way, let's talk about time for a second. While it's, I can talk now, right?
I want to say a few things and then I'll...
Okay, I'll be quick. Timer. I don't use them, and Steve doesn't even like them because your product, when I first started, I thought, well, I'll write down on the recipe card how long it takes and how much it yields. Well, you can't do that because your first run in the morning is going to take a little longer than your third run. Because the machine has gotten colder by then and it freezes quicker, right? Something like that?
Second run, and then it stays the same.
Well, I don't know about that. I find that I can't put the times down on the card because, and it doesn't matter anyway.
No, I don't use the
timer. It's all going to be between 8 and 15 minutes, so what's the difference? Just don't leave it. Go ahead.
How long is this time?
This will probably be about 15, 16 minutes, but we'll watch it. Because again, as Jeff said, every flavor is different. So, and again, it's all based on the sugar content. Sugar content controls everything. I did want to go back to the question that was asked in the audience about flavors. Jeff and I work in a little bit of a parallel universe. Jeff is making a fantastic ice cream, there's no question about it. He's also running a business that's open only 4 hours a day. And for that 4 hours a day, he has to spend a lot of hours preparing all the ice creams, getting them ready for that rush. It's a fantastic business. Only open from what, 6 p.m. to 10 p.m.?
6 to 10 every night.
Your normal ice cream business is going to be open from about 11 in the morning till 10 at night. And so your volume is going to be larger because of just the hours that you're open. There's a tremendous difference between, Jeff is doing it what I would call the European method, and that is perfectly fine. There's also the reality of the American method of ice cream. And that is, if you only go up to Cape Cod once every 2 years, and you like the Four Seas ice cream parlor, and you remember what their mint chip was like, they have to have mint chip on hand all the time. They can't run out. When I was in Bologna, Italy, the capital of Cappigiani batch freezers, and walking around, there is a gelateria here, there's another one a half a block away, there's another one 3/4 of a block away. They're everywhere. So if you walk into a gelateria in Europe, and it's 12 o'clock and you want fruita di Bosco, he might say, oh, I'm sorry, we ran out. We ran out about a half hour ago, and I'm not making it again until tomorrow. Go to the other ice cream parlor down the road. And that's what people will do. But in America, the way we run ice cream parlors is you have to have every flavor that you've ever produced all the time. You can't run out. So what you do in an environment like that, and again, we're running much longer hours than Jeff is, we make not a batch of this product, we make 3, 4, 5 batches of this, and we put it into what's called a flash freezer. Your best preservative in the world is cold. Nothing holds product better than cold. So if we take this product down to 30 below zero, I could keep it for 6 months and it would be just as good as the day that we made it. In fact, the ice creams you're going to try today are fantastic, but if you came back tomorrow, they'd be even better because the flavor blooms over 24 hours. And so the American method of doing an ice cream parlor, and this is why gelaterias have failed miserably in the United States as a whole. They try to be open from 11 in the morning till 10 o'clock at night. They run out of flavors, or somebody doesn't want that flavor and the product goes to waste. And I wrote an article about it, it's up on my website, and I said, why can't we flash freeze gelato? And that was about 7 or 8 years ago, and it just changed the face of the industry because everybody said, oh yeah, let's freeze gelato. We don't have to have it made 45 minutes ago. So that gives you an inventory. Keep in mind why we're all here. We're all here to make a profit. We're here to make money. Sometimes I think the Italian gelaterias are there to impress themselves and just say, I can make the most complicated thing on earth. We're trying to make a fantastic price at a good price, a fantastic product at a good price and sell it. So that means having an inventory. If I ran this factory based on, I'm getting a load of compressors in at 11 o'clock today, and I'll be finished with them by 3 o'clock, and we hope to have another run in a couple of days. I couldn't do that. I have to have an inventory of compressors, motors, steel, everything that goes into a machine. So the American approach to the typical American ice cream parlor is different. Now on flavorings, I do use all the different flavors. Let me just step off camera for a second. Well, I don't have it there. We're going to make a tiramisu gelato in a little while. And that comes from a company called Fabri. They're as old as Emery Thompson. They were formed in 1905 over in Bologna, Italy. And although, as you can tell, I'm not a big fan of Italian machinery, for gelato flavors, there is nothing better than the Fabri products. They're just fantastic. And this is the only way I know to get tiramisu. I don't know how to put it together from scratch. And if it's going to be one of my most popular flavors, this is a terrific paste that goes into the ice cream. And as you'll see later today, it makes a terrific ice cream. When it comes to Italian ices, there's 3 levels of flavor. There's what we're going to make later and what Jeff is making now, all fresh ingredients. And that makes, without question, the very best Italian ice. One step down from that, and I don't consider it a step down, is using a base. Now, I don't use a base for a lot of my flavors, but why do I need it? Because I can't get mangoes 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and they're difficult to work with. The mango base is going to give me an excellent flavor. Would it be as good as using fresh mangoes? Maybe not, but it's so close second that you can hardly tell the difference. We all tasted the product a few minutes ago, and I thought it was very good. So this is an excellent way to get mango flavor. There's a third step, and this is where people like Jeff and me would say, oh no, we're not going any lower. We don't want to go any lower in quality than fresh fruit or fresh frozen or a base, and that is using an extract. An extract, you use extracts before. If you bake a cake, you use vanilla extract. It's the only way you're going to make a vanilla cake. How are we doing?
We're a minute away.
Okay, I'll wind up in a minute. But what if children like bubblegum Italian ice? We grow everything in Florida, but we don't have bubblegum trees. So the only way I can make a bubblegum Italian ice is to use a bubblegum extract. So my recipe is sugar, water, and bubblegum extract, a few ounces of bubblegum extract. There is no other way on earth to make bubblegum. And you're always looking to say, I love this product, I have great confidence in it, but how does my confidence parallel with what the customer wants to buy. If my ice is going to cost $7 a scoop and the market will bear $1.50, then I am making the world's best product, but nobody's buying it. So you have to balance the overall concept of why you're here, and that is to make a profit, make a good living selling a great product. So I don't discount all the effort and work that goes into making something from scratch. I mean, who makes it better than a cake, better than a bakery? But there are some times that you're going to use a Betty Crocker mix for expediency or because you have to make so many of them. So we agree to disagree on the overall scope. Mine's a little larger than Jeff's. And you're ready?
What did you just say?
My scope is larger.
Oh.
No, we're not talking about that.
Okay.
Now we're using gelato pans here, but you can use 2.5-gallon tubs or anything.
Yeah, I don't use these, but you use them.
We just like them because you get to see it so much easier. Question back there? No? Okay.
Okay, we turn this off.
That's it. Just push it down.
And we are ready to
If
roll.
you'll turn to the side so people can see. Look how fast that comes out. If you're broiling a steak and you want it medium rare, and the steak's done in 8 minutes, but it takes 3 minutes to get it out of the machine, I guarantee you that steak is going to be well done. So it's critical with the Emery Thompson that we can discharge faster than any other machine on the market, because we want the consistency. We want the first tub to be the same as the last tub.
Okay, come and get it.
That's a beautiful color.
And this is cream ice.
A question from the internet. Do you have to rinse the machine out with cold water every time you make a batch? And when you do use water to clean the machine, how hot does the water have to be?
The question is rinsing out the machine between batches. No, we talked about that a little bit. You try to plan your production so you start with a light flavor and work down, similar flavors. In ice cream, you would do vanilla, and then maybe you'd do strawberry, and then Bordeaux cherry, and then black raspberry. They're all fruits, and each one, there's so little left in the machine that each one is going to cover over the next one. Between batches, I use cold water, but if I'm going to clean out the machine at the end of the day, if you've ever taken butter and dropped it on the floor, you know that butter is really hard to clean up off the floor with cold water. You need hot water.
Oh, no, you don't.
These are the only machines on the market where you can use hot water, because our barrels, our freezing chambers are 6 times thicker than anybody else's machine. So we can put hot water in here, which cuts through that butter fat and makes the job just a matter of minutes instead of, say, a half hour with another machine with a very thin barrel.
Another question. Could you tell us again what the ice cream blend is made of?
The blend of ice that's in ice cream, all ice cream consists of milk, cream, sugar, and skim milk. Skim milk, to me, is the secret ingredient. I drink skim milk in my coffee because I know it's actually heavy cream with all the fat removed. It's got all the good stuff of heavy cream, but without the added calories. And so we put skim milk into this blend because it gives us all the good stuff without raising up the fat level of it.
Since it already has sugar in it, why do you have to add sugar to your recipe?
Because ice cream would not be ice cream. It wouldn't be sweet enough without it. The sugar is coming from the natural sugars that occur in dairy, but that's not enough for it to be actual ice cream.
Did you mention how hot the water had to be to rinse the machine with?
To rinse out the machine at the end of the day, my rule of thumb, what this comes from is going into restaurants where they have practically scalding hot water. If I can put my hand into the water without pulling back in pain, it's okay for the Emery Thompson. You do that to a Cappigiani or a Taylor or a Stolting, and you're going to void the warranty because you'll actually cause the gas to expand so fast in the cylinder, it'll bubble the cylinder. You'll get ridges and bubbles in the cylinder, and it'll ruin it. That won't happen in an Emery Thompson. So we're going to take a quick break now, a little coffee break, and when we come back, Jeff and I are going to make some more products, and so we'll see you in about 5 or 10 minutes. Okay, we're back. We've had coffee and we're ready to go. Now I'm going to make, I believe, let's see, a tiramisu gelato. One funny thing about tiramisu that I get a kick out of telling people is some of the flavors that come out of Italy have these fancy names like Fruta di Bosco, which just means mixed fruit, or Veggione, which is vanilla. But tiramisu is a unique product. It's Madeira wine and some coffee, and they often put the ladyfinger pastries also into it. I've made it in the past with chips, but I'm going to save my chips for another time. I use the Fabry product for the tiramisu. And that's a really nice product. As I mentioned before, comes out of Italy, and it does a great product. Jeff, if you won't mind, I'm going to need 8 ounces of the tiramisu. This is a very simple recipe. One of the problems I have, though, with gelato, and I believe in doing a full-service frozen dessert business. One of the problems that gelaterias had and why they failed so badly in the United States, and I know everybody's going to go, oh, no, I have a great gelateria. Yes, in every city, in every major city, New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, there's going to be somebody who's making a fortune on gelato. But for the most part, it's old-fashioned ice cream. It always has been. It always will be. One of the reasons is you walk into a gelateria. 3 people walk in. One person wants tiramisu. The second person wants mint chip ice cream. And the third person wants a bubblegum Italian ice. We as a gelateria only sell the Italian gelato. We're very sophisticated. And so what we're doing, though, is we're silently telling the mint chip, go away, and the bubblegum, yeah, you definitely go away. Thank you. 8 ounces. And that doesn't make sense, to be turning away that much of an audience. If I'm doing a frozen dessert business, I would have old-fashioned hard ice cream as my primary. I might have a few flavors of gelato if the market warrants it, and certainly the sorbet or Italian ice, depending on the wealth of the neighborhood, what you're going to call it. But I ran into one situation with tiramisu. We opened up in the western part of Texas, very far removed from the East Coast. And this one guy comes into the store, it was reported to me, and he looks up at the sign and says, give me some of that tiramisu. And the lady who was serving it corrected him, said, sir, it's called tiramisu. And well, basically she's insulted him. He bought it and he left, and he's probably never coming back. So we had this problem, and she said, what do we do about it? And I said, well, let's do what I do with difficult names. I'm talking to a lot of people every day all over the world, and break it down phonically. So we actually put up on the sign under tiramisu, which is spelled T-I-R-A-M-I-S-U, we put Tara, and then Ma, as in mommy, and Sue, as in the girl's name. So now the guy walks in, he's got his pickup truck in the back, the gun's on the rack, the hound dog's in the way back, and he's got his friend with him. Come on, I'm going to get you some of this gelato. And they walk in, he says, give my friend here some of that tiramisu. He's reading the sign, and he did it phonically, and his friend looks at him and goes, dang, when did you learn how to speak Italian? And that's sometimes what you have to do, is you have to adapt to the neighborhood that you're going to be in and where you're selling. Where I'm from, which they jokingly called the Westchester, we didn't sell Italian ice, we sold sorbet. It's the same stuff. And then the other thing about gelato is people make this big deal. The Italians will tell you, oh, it's not ice cream. Well, what do you mean it's not ice cream? What are your main ingredients? Well, it's milk, cream, sugar, and skim milk. Well, gee, that sure sounds like ice cream to me. The difference is the Italian flavorings. So the point I guess I'm making is, if I'm doing a full service business, I want to incorporate everybody. So I'm going to have some of the tiramisu made on the Emery Thompson. I'm going to have the hard ice creams like Jeff's, and I'm going to have the Italian ice. No other machine can do that. The little one doesn't come with the infinite overrun control because it's going to do a range of air content, not as high as the other machines, but low enough that you can do gelato on it and super premium ice cream and all your sorbets and Italian ices. The infinite overrun control on the bigger machines is going to give you a much bigger range. If you were to buy an Italian machine, you would have to buy a low air content machine for gelato, and you'd have to buy a second $30,000 machine for the high air content. Well, with Emery Thompson and my invention, the infinite overrun control, everything is in one machine. You're always going to be able to do any air content you want. And like I said, we don't know what's coming down the pike in 5 years from now, but we know that we'll be able to make it on the Emery Thompson because of the variability. So I'm going to make a true gelato. I wanted to show you the inside of this machine first so you can get an idea. Now this machine is going to make 6 quarts in the same time as all the other machines. That's half the amount of product that Jeff's machine made, but the price is half the amount. It's $9,650 for this machine, so it's extremely well priced. That's all stainless steel, very heavy. Had a customer in the other day, they were looking at a Cappigiani, and the salesman for Cappigiani said to him, "Oh, buy our machine. It's got a plastic front door, so when it breaks, it's very inexpensive to replace." And I'm going, why don't you just build a door out of solid stainless steel, one piece stainless steel, and it'll last 100 years. It's just a different way of building things. The beater, or dasher as we call it, is the same design as the other ones. It's spring-loaded, so as the blades wear, they're still going to scrape against the walls, and they're going to last you, on average, 5 years before they even have to be addressed as far as either machining or replacing. And this machine has been out now for 4.5 years, and we haven't replaced any blades yet. So what we say is the absolute truth. This goes on here. Question, Ken? Oh, sir, yes. The question is, are parts available? Yeah, we have parts available back to 1940 for any of our machines. Yeah, you won't need them, but we have them. And I can put any part in our inventory on your desk by 10:30 tomorrow morning. If you're in Madagascar, I can have it on your desk in 2 days. If you're anywhere in North America, I can have it tomorrow morning by 10:30. So yes, parts are always available. Something that's not true of all the other machines, because all the other machines are made in Italy, and parts can get very difficult to find. These are just hand tight. And make sure, as Jeff showed you before, that the gate is closed. And now, since I had my hands in it, I'm just going to sanitize it real quick.
Got enough there?
Excuse me?
Got enough?
Oh yeah, that's great.
Steve, can you use a blast freezer for both ice cream and Italian ice?
You don't need a blast freezer for Italian ice. The purpose of the blast freezer, let me turn this on and I'll take a second talking about that. The blast freezer is also known as a flash freezer, and it's also known as a hardening cabinet. We don't have one here to show you, but they're tall. They look like an oversized refrigerator, and they go to 30 below zero. That's really cold. The reason we go to 30 below zero is so we can harden the ice cream hard as a rock. You couldn't scoop it with a hammer or chisel. The reason we go that cold is because every time we're making, say, instead of the one batch of Jeff's product, we're making 5 or 6 batches of it. And every time we open the door, the cold is all falling out. And we're packing the tubs in really tight. So by going to 30 below, we get a very fast recovery on it. They're made in America. Masterbuilt makes them, and Globe makes them. Globe is the new name for Kelvinator. They're both very good. I don't sell them. You go to a place like turnkeyparlor.com, and they'll have the lowest prices on them. For the Italian ice, we do that for the ice cream to keep the ice crystal structure down and to make the product last a long time. The Italian ice, you do not have to flash freeze whatsoever. If you want to store 10 or 15 or 30 tubs, you could put it into any freezer, take it down to zero, and you won't be able to scoop it. It'll be so hard. Paul and I just had a Kentucky Derby party the other night, and I had made some red wine sorbet, pound of sugar, bottle of red, bottle of water, and a bag of raspberries. And that, in order to transport it across the state of Florida, we froze it down to 0. Couldn't scoop it. It was impossible. So then the party was going to be at 6 o'clock. At 4 o'clock, I took it out of the freezer at 0, put it into the refrigerator, and now it all tempered up to a scooping temperature. If you've ever had ice cream and you leave it out on your counter before dinner, it melts all around the outside and is hard on the inside. All you have to do to avoid that is take that tub of ice cream or that tub of sorbet or Italian ice, put it in your refrigerator for 2 hours, and it'll what we call temper. It'll all warm up to the same scooping temperature without it being hard as a rock in the center. So you don't need the hardening cabinet. In fact, what I use here, and it's off camera, is I have a $500 Sears chest freezer. One of these big long white units with the lid that lifts up. And they go to 10 below 0. And I put my ice cream in there as a hardening cabinet. I put my Italian ice in there as a storage cabinet. And as long as, it wasn't designed to harden ice cream, but as long as I don't overload it, if I don't put 50 gallons of ice cream into that Sears chest freezer, it's going to do the job just fine.
How big is that?
It's right there. It's 7 feet long.
Or if you're like me, you can go to Sam's Club and buy one for $150. A little smaller.
Yeah. However, you bring up a good point that I'm going to point out that you may not know this one. I had a customer, I can't name him, out in the Midwest, who before the store opened, and he's a franchise, a disgruntled would-be employee burned down the building. And the insurance company came in and they said, okay, you're insured for this, but oh, look at this. You've got a Sam's Club freezer that is not, it was UL, but it wasn't commercial grade. And in the state of Wisconsin, everything must be commercial grade, and they denied the insurance on the entire building. Of course, he said, do you know how many stores I've got and how much money I make for you? And he bullied him into covering the store. But do check with your local authorities and find out, does everything in the store have to be commercial? Even right down to a blender. It's a pain in the neck, but we want to know about the insurance. Just an odd sidebar. I haven't heard of it happening again, but
definitely an odd sidebar.
Scared me to death. All right, we're ready to go. We are going to have 5 quarts of the cream. So if we have a measure for that.
In other words, Jeff, do the 5 quarts.
This is fantastic because you do all the work for me and I just sit here and talk.
Taking all the credit.
Absolutely. Well, that's my job.
Not a problem.
Can you tell us the recipe for the tiramisu?
Oh, and I can do better than that. I can give it to you. It's right here. And let's also pass out the mango that I did earlier this morning. That's the tiramisu. There's the mango, if you'll pass those around. And then after lunch, we're going to make coffee Kahlua.
Which is redundant.
Yes, it is. They're both coffee. Okay, that's my...
5. You said 5.
Did I?
Yeah.
5 quarts. On the CB350 yielding 6. No, I'm wrong. 4.5. So I'm going to pour a little of this out.
I'll get it.
Sorry, I read
no problem.
my own what do you call it? Chicken scratch?
No problem. No, sorry. You want a half out of there?
Yeah. Because I want some room for air. If you missed it, we were talking about air during the break. And I get people all the time who are not totally familiar with the ice cream business, and they say, well, I want a product with no air in it. Well, the best example I could give you is, instead of ice cream, let's go to cake. A birthday cake would be a very high air content cake. A pound cake would be a very low air content cake. They're both good. They're both cakes. Breyer's is a high air content. Jeff's product is a high air content. Haagen-Dazs would be a low air content. They're both good, but most people, if you ask them and they're honest, you say, which would you rather have, a second piece of birthday cake or a second piece of pound cake? They're going to pick the birthday cake because it's refreshing. It leaves you feeling good and saying the most important thing we want to hear in an ice cream parlor. Gee, I think I'll go get another one. So we've got that in there. This is very simple. It's just the dairy blend
Here.
and the tiramisu.
What's it's a 14%?
This is a 14%. Now I'm calling it a gelato. in Italy, gelato is about 8 to 10% fat. I'm running 14%. But as I said, I got a little splash there. Turn that down. I'm going to take the speed down and pour in my tiramisu. Turn on the refrigeration. And I'm going to take the speed. I was at 234 revolutions. I'm going to go to 140. And sometimes I do get some splashback. Whoa. There are certain speeds I found where it spits back at you. Nothing you can do about it.
Well, there is something you can do about it. You can do it the right way.
Your machine doesn't run at 140.
No. What does it run at?
You run at 260. So there isn't any way. So that's going to be the product. So you mean this has to happen? I'm going to put that in.
Okay.
And that's just how simple this is. Now, you could also add to it, as I said, the lady fingers. I've put chocolate chips in. I'm not hard and fast rules. I'm obviously not wearing a white coat and using a spectrograph and all the other stuff that you see the Italians doing. It just isn't that difficult.
Right.
I'm looking for
it's not rocket science.
It's not rocket science. It's just that simple.
If you want to add fudge, add fudge. If you want to add caramel, add caramel.
Yeah, if they tell you that you have to go to school for 5 years to learn how to make this, I'm showing you don't have to. It's attacking me today.
There's a whole thing of aprons over there. Yeah, just.
I wouldn't want to wear an apron. That's no fun.
I got a quick question, Steve.
Yes.
The difference between this as a gelato and this, if you wanted to turn this into a hard ice cream flavor, would just be the amount of air that you put in it? It's the same ingredients, but you would just run the machine a little differently?
The difference between this as a hard ice cream and a gelato is just the air content. I would run the ice cream probably at about 234 RPMs. I'm running the gelato way down at 140. So, and you're fired.
I've never worked under these conditions in my life.
Yeah.
It's like working in a cave.
That's right. Any, yes, a question? Most of the mixes that you get from a dairy are going to have stabilizers and emulsifiers in them. And you want to read the labels to see how natural they are. I don't want polysorbate 80 in my ice cream. I just don't like it. I'm sorry, say it again? You don't need to add any emulsifiers to it. They've already put it into the dairy product. And I'm not a dairy scientist, so I can't go into great detail, but basically, if you take these raw ingredients and put them together and turn it into ice cream, and you scoop the ice cream into a white dish, within seconds you'll see a brown ring coming out of the ice cream, surrounding the vanilla ice cream. It's very prominent. And what it is the moisture falling out of the ice cream. So the emulsifiers and stabilizers help hold that in there.
What is that again? What was that?
The emulsifiers and stabilizers, without it you'll get a brown ring of water showing up.
Really?
And it's literally falling out of the ice cream. Because a dairy product coming out of the cow is mostly water. Let's see what else we can tell you. I always tell people that when you buy a machine, when you go into business, also sit down and think about where else can I sell this product. I've got my ice cream parlor like Jeff does, and Jeff wants to work his 4 hours, and he's doing extremely well at it. If I was half Jeff's age or half my age, and I wanted to expand the business, well, I'd start to look around. I'd say, well, we've got a nice restaurant over there. Jeff didn't want to be bothered with them, but the beauty of selling to restaurants, and yes, you do have to educate them on how to serve the product. It's in their best interest to serve it properly. But the advantage is they're going to be buying year-round, and they're consistent, so they're paying your overhead. Again, I'm always looking to make money. I mean, that's the reason we're in business, is to make money. We're not here so we can get on TV as the world's greatest ice cream. We're making the world's greatest ice cream and ices and making a nice living off it. So I like the restaurants, I like the country clubs, I like the hotels. And your competition is Haagen-Dazs. Again, I told you we put Haagen-Dazs in business. Well, Haagen-Dazs hires a 6'4" man who has just come out of college, just come off playing football. So he's already got a huge ego from, you know, being a hero on the football team. And Haagen-Dazs hires him and bolsters that ego even higher. And, you know, we're Haagen-Dazs, you know, we're super special. And that's the way they approach the chef. But when they approach the chef, they say, oh, and chef, you have to buy 10 tubs of our product, and we deliver once every 2 weeks. Well, the chef says, where am I going to store 10 tubs? I don't have the freezer space to store it. And how do I know 8 days from now what I want to serve? So that's the limitation of a quality product like Haagen-Dazs. You walk in and you bring in some quart containers and you say, here, chef. Oh, and go in at 9:30 in the morning. That's when the chef is doing his buying, because by 11:30 he's bossing everybody around doing the lunch traffic. So you go in at 9:30 in the morning, you see the executive chef. Don't see the pastry chef, don't see an assistant, you want to see the chef. All you want is 30 seconds. Here, chef, here's 2 of my flavors of ice cream, here's a sorbet, here's my list of what I make, I'll see you in a couple days, and walk out. Let the product do the selling. And then you go back in a couple days with a couple more flavors and say, okay, chef, you've tried my product. I can do a minimum of 2 tubs, and I deliver every 3rd day. So now you're handling his inventory control. He doesn't need a big freezer space. He can change his menu whenever he wants, and that's what great chefs do. They don't invent new stuff. They just change the menu. If I go into a restaurant and the menu's in plastic, I usually walk out because it means they only change the menu about once a year. So you're handling inventory control, you're handling what they're going to sell, and then you hit them with what we call in selling the hook. Oh, and by the way, chef, if you have any ideas on how to improve my mango sorbet, by all means tell me, and I'll tell our ice cream maker to make it just for you. Well, this guy or this woman has never made mango sorbet in their life, but they're an executive chef, so they're going to boss you around. They're going to say, yeah, I want you to add a pinch of salt to it. Fine, great. A pinch of salt to 11 gallons of sugar water, you're never going to see it, but if it makes them happy, that's wonderful. So that's a great way to get into a wholesale business. Yes?
Let's say you capitalize on that idea of selling to restaurants. You have half a dozen of those.
I'm sorry, speak up.
Let's say you capitalize on the idea that you said, that you just said, to restaurants, selling to restaurants.
Yes.
What kind of devices do you use to transport the different type of ice cream?
Oh, how am I transporting?
Do you have a specific cooler that you recommend?
Oh, I just use an igloo cooler. And again, you've taken the ice cream out of a hardening cabinet that's 30 below zero. You can drive a long time at 30 below zero. And if you put it into just an igloo cooler, here's all these little cold containers. They're going to feed on themselves. It's like throwing a huge block of dry ice in there. So it's going to stay cold for a long time. If you're going to go, like Paula and I do, across to the other side of the state of Florida, I buy a small amount of dry ice and just put it on top, and it will just hold it forever. You don't need a refrigerated truck. You want to, like Jeff, and he's so absolutely right on this, keep your overhead low. Spend as little as possible. Spend it on the important things. It just drives me nuts when someone buys a 40-year-old Emery Thompson and a $7,000 cash register. Oh, but the cash register is going to tell me how many butterscotch sundaes I sold today. Yeah, but it can't make you a butterscotch sundae. So, you know, spend your money. Go ahead.
Now, they do make a product which I bought. It's a portable freezer, and it plugs into your cigarette lighter in the car. And when I used to go around to different, like canvassing, different hotels, country clubs, things like that, I used that. And I had 1 quart containers in it, and it plugs right into your cigarette lighter. It's a little pricey, but now that I don't do that anymore, I use it in the store. Because the cream ice is at a higher temperature, serving temperature, than your regular ice creams. This cream ice is served at 20, 25 degrees. So it's nice and soft like when you just had it. So I use that freezer for that.
I'll show you another little trick that I found now that you mentioned that. If you're just starting out your business and you don't have a brick and mortar store, you might be selling from a push cart. And depending on how much you spend on the push cart, they may not have any refrigeration in them. You may not have any place to plug it in. I found this product. Here's a paper 3-gallon container for Italian ice. This is made by Carlisle Company, and you can call me and I'll give you the information on it. I'll just tell you the spelling. Carlisle is C-A-R-L-I-S-L-E. C-A-R-L-I-S-L-E. That's a 3-gallon container that, you know those blue ice that you put into a children's lunch pail? Well, this is filled with a product like that. Colder than just freezing water. It's like a glycol, and it's going to freeze down. You put this tonight in your freezer and get it rock hard, and then you can put this in your cabinet, put your tub inside it. And I have tested these things here at the factory. I kept Italian ice for 6 hours in just this, sitting out on our counter in our reception area. And that's fantastic. It cost me $70, I think, or $75, somewhere in that range. But 4 or 6 of these, and you've got all the refrigeration you need. We used to have to go out and buy dry ice, or what's called a brine slug, which is a blue square. But this works beautifully. It comes in white or black. I don't sell them. I have nothing to do with this company.
Do they come in sizes?
No, just one size,
3 gallon?
3 gallons. But if it's something that I can show you to help you out, that's what I want to do. Say what?
How long does it keep it cold?
It depends on your product, but I kept Italian ice for 6 hours. So that was amazing. Because if it takes me, if I spend 6 hours selling this tub, guess what? I've got the wrong flavor. You know, I've made bubblegum licorice ice cream, and nobody's buying it because nobody wants bubblegum licorice ice cream. So, you know, when someone calls me up and says, I've got a flavor in my hardening cabinet, it's been there since last September, is it still fresh? The answer is yes, it's still fresh, but it's a lousy flavor. If you can't go through your inventory, you're in love with that flavor, but your public isn't. And all we care about is what is the public going to buy. It concerns me that people lose sight of the reason you're going into business is to make money. Always keep that in mind. There's other altruistic reasons for that you say you're in business, but if you're not making money, you shouldn't be in business. Let's see how this looks. That's looking pretty good.
Steve, how long does it take for the tiramisu?
About, I'd say 10 minutes, maybe 11. When you lower the speed, the freezing time gets a little bit longer. So I think I'm going to pull this out. I'm going to turn the refrigeration off, open the gate. Hey, Jeff, do you have a spatula? I forgot one. See, the problem with me making ice cream is I make it once every 2 months, and Jeff's doing it every day. So he's better prepared. But that's a nice, dry product. Oh, also, now watch, I can also speed it up. Sounds like it's going to take off to get the last bit of product out. Whoa, that's full. I'm going to take the rest of that out, but take a look at that. That's a beautiful product. Nice and dry and solid. Yes.
Good too. Here, get rid of that. Get rid of that.
Question? It's coming out. Will I get there before it does? Yes. All right. The number one thing I hear about going wrong with machines, when I ask a little deeper than what's wrong, I always ask the same question. It's like Sherlock Holmes in my mind. When was the last time it ran right? Well, it ran right 15 minutes ago when I was talking to my girlfriend on the phone. Aha, there's your problem. You're talking to your girlfriend on the phone instead of making ice cream.
Let's eat.
Yeah, come on up and try this.
This is probably going to be really good. Look how thick that is.
Isn't that thick?
Beautiful.
So again, look, that's a nice, real thick product. Now, Jeff, with all my hurrying you along, we're 25 minutes ahead of schedule. You said you had an extra product. Yeah, you want to make a quick one?
Yeah, cool.
It's all yours.
Cool. Okay, we're going to make the world's simplest ice cream, and it's the best thing you'll ever taste. You think this is good? Okay. Remember, I go supermarketing. At Christmas time, I go around to all the stores, the dollar stores, and I buy as many of these as I can. They're usually 99 cents for a box or 2 boxes. They're candy canes. That's it. This is the world's simplest ice cream, and it's amazing. I take the candy canes and I put them in here, and then I wind up with this. And give it a smell. 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 You don't have to even get close. It smells amazing. Right? Smells amazing. Oh, you don't have to smell. It's all right. Let's forget about it. Here, you want to smell it? Don't be touching. Just smell. You smell with your nose, not your hands.
No, but I can.
Don?
Okay.
Good stuff.
Okay, so very simple ice cream. We're going to take 3 quarts of mix. When you taste this, you're going to freak out. 3 quarts of mix. Measured very scientifically.
When you go to your dairy and you want to buy that, what do you tell them you're looking for?
Ice cream mix.
Just ice cream mix.
Yeah. Oh, they'll know. They'll know right away what you want. And we're going to add to that some vanilla. Vanilla. Vanilla.
Can you share your
Fair.
provider for the dairy in your area?
What's that?
Provider for dairy? that you
Your
recommend?
provider.
Oh, my provider? It sounds like healthcare. I use, there's 2 here. There's one on the West Coast, one on the southern East Coast. I use Ice Cream Club in Boynton Beach, and you use?
Ice cream mix in St. Pete.
There you go.
But every city's going to have 2
If
or
you
3.
just Google it, you'll find them. Now, there's 3 quarts of mix. How much vanilla are we going to use?
3 ounces.
3 ounces of vanilla. This is ridiculous, this ice cream. And then to that, we're going to add 10 ounces of crushed candy canes. And this is all they are, candy canes.
And one reason for doing the crushed as opposed to just throwing the candy canes in is we have to be safe. We want to worry about children.
Absolutely.
We don't want a child getting a sliver of a candy cane. We can't count on the machine grinding everything to
That's why these are so
pulverized.
important. Just like with the M&Ms or the pretzels or whatever you're going to make, grind it till it's dust.
With the candy canes ground up, no one's going to choke on it, so it's safe to give
10
to
ounces.
kids. And they absolutely love this flavor.
10 ounces. Now I see I have competition here. You're all going to be buying candy canes in the stores. 10 ounces of candy canes.
Can you use the soft candy canes?
Use what?
The soft candy canes?
No, just do what I tell you. Dump it in there and mix it up. Now I normally, you don't have a whisk, do you?
No.
Okay. It's like working in obsolete times. Okay, you just mix it up. Normally, I have a whisk and I do it professionally, but I'm here under these conditions.
We don't cook, we make reservations.
So I'm just stirring it up to dissolve it a little. The machine will do the rest. Theoretically, you could pour it all in there. The only reason I don't is because then I have to let it on longer to mix it. So I'd rather do this and talk. Any questions?
Now this will take a little bit longer to freeze than just say a straight vanilla because we're adding a lot of sugar to the formula. The candy canes are pure sugar, so that will take longer to freeze. So I don't put on the machine an automatic shut off because vanilla is going to be perfect and the candy cane you're going to just have to come and turn it back on. This way, again, it's not rocket science, but you know, we keep an eye on it. And if I was teaching someone how to make ice cream in my organization, I can have just a nice little loose leaf book and say candy cane ice cream. Vanilla took 8 minutes, so this might take 10 or 11.
What are we going on, 170, 230?
Let's go for 170.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
That's close enough.
Okay. This is a real good example.
Should I tell him to turn on the refrigeration, or do you
Not
want
yet,
to?
not yet. It's mixing a little now.
Okay.
Because normally I use a whisk.
It will mix while you're freezing because it isn't going to freeze much in the first 2 minutes.
Okay, turn it on. Okay, now we turn on the refrigeration unit.
We've only been married for 5 years. Kidding.
Set the timer.
Yeah. Now, my bookkeeper got me this timer. As you can see, that's not a very expensive timer, but the beauty of it is when it breaks, I'm going to throw it away and buy a new one. If I put it onto the machine, people say, well, why don't I get a timer on the machine? Well, to meet National Sanitation Foundation and Underwriters Laboratories, this $6 timer would cost $230. If it's tied into the machine to shut down the machine at a prescribed amount of time, that means that if the timer breaks, I have to call a refrigeration man guy in at $130 an hour to change the timer. And until he comes, my machine is down. So by just going out and buying a $6 timer and throwing it away and buying a new one, I save all that money and all that grief, and it doesn't take down the machine. Gadgets are going to hurt machinery. The IOC is not a gadget. That's a proven piece of the machine that we've been using, as I said, for 11 years. But we don't put gadgets on the machine. Gadgets I keep for my own home. I've done lots of them.
So 3 products, 3 ingredients. Couldn't be simpler. The cost is really low. Those candy canes at Christmas time, right after Christmas, I go around to the dollar stores. 99 cents, you can usually get 4 or 5 boxes of them. And then I take them and I have big pretzel jars and I throw them in there, and whenever I get time, I put them in here and grind them to dust, and then I store them in the freezer like this. And to make candy cane ice cream, I didn't even plan, it's not on the sheet today, but it takes 2 seconds, and it's, where do you taste it? You won't believe, there's not enough O's and smooth for this ice cream.
That's right, it's addictive.
This is good stuff here.
Well, one thing about when I'm making ice cream, and Jeff subscribes to the same concept, is the worst thing that could happen to either of us is to hand you a pale pink ice cream and you say, oh, that's delicious. What is it? If you can't tell that it's red raspberry ice cream as opposed to strawberry, then we've failed as ice cream makers. You have to use enough flavor so that it's distinctive. You know what it is. We're going to make a Coff Kahlua ice cream this afternoon, and I make it with a lot of coffee because my theory is if you're a tea drinker, you're not going to buy my coffee ice cream. But if you're a coffee drinker like me and you think Starbucks is weak, you want a really strong coffee ice cream. So the most important thing, no matter what anybody says about making ice cream, I'd love to tell you it's my machine. My machine's just going to last you 45 years and never break down. But it's not the machine, it's not the dairy product, it's not the air content, it's the flavor. The better your flavors, the better the ice cream.
But this machine simplifies your whole life. I got to tell you, you take it for granted. You don't even have to think about it. Are you going to clean that up?
Yeah, eventually. I was hoping the help would do it.
Nice. That's a professional. He takes a tissue from his pocket and cleans it. And if you'll notice, look in front of his machine here. Look in front of my machine. That brings me to another tip, which I just discovered after 2.5 years. What I do when I start to make ice cream, I take an old towel, and I have them for this purpose, and I lay it in front of the machine. It saves me a half hour cleaning up later. It's a good tip to do. Okay.
Couple of just housekeeping things. Jeff's book again. You can. Why don't you tell them your website address?
It's PayPal. You can PayPal it. It's xhippie, XHIPPEE at AOL.com. The book is $48 plus $5.50 first class shipping, and that's it. And it's got not only my top 20 recipes, but it has all the tips that we talk about and all the little time savers and the suppliers of who I use to save you money also. And along with this, you get my phone number and you call me all the time. I get 15 calls a day asking for advice on stuff, and it's just to save you money, that's all.
Remember those Iraqi dollars you told me to buy? That was lousy advice. Couple of more things. That's
the only plug I get.
The National Dipper magazine. There's no magazines except this one out there that are concerned about frozen desserts for the individual. There's plenty of dairy magazines like Dairy Field, and you know, if you've got a $3 or $30 million dairy operation, that's who you read. But the National Dipper is a great organization. It's run by a friend of ours, Linda Utterback, and you might want to subscribe to that. And also, once you get into business, also an organization called NICRA, which Linda heads up for us. NICRA stands for National Ice Cream Retailers Association. NICRA, National Ice Cream Retailers Association, and their website is nicra.org, not .com, .org. And it's very inexpensive to join, and you'll be tied in with a lot of other people in the frozen dessert business. People call me up all day long, and they say, okay, I'm in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. I want to go visit 2 ice cream parlors that have your machines, and I want to grill them on how they do their business. Well, guess what? They're not going to talk to you, and you won't do it either. You may say, oh, yes, I will. But no, you won't talk to them when you get into business because you know they're there to steal your ideas. And you also don't have the time to do it. But if you belong to, if you get the National Dipper, if you belong to NICRA, these same people are writing in or they're available on email, and they'll answer any question that you have. So what we don't know, you can ask people working in the business, and they'll tell you a lot about it. I'll give these out to everyone. This is the annual source book that Linda gave me that lists all different suppliers in the country. There's also an organization, a blog that I belong to called Ice Cream Folks at yahoogroups.com. Long name, and again, you can write to me and I'll give you this information. This started up in New England. A gentleman, Steve Rapucci, who owns Mad Maggie's Ice Cream and Cold Molds, which is a product that you can make ice cream cakes and popsicles with, and after they're made and frozen, you just roll the mold off and you've got a perfect product. He started Ice Cream Folks at yahoogroups.com, and this is a great organization. It's like any blog. We have our characters in them. I'm one of them. You'll see Malcolm Stogo, you'll see Gary from Gary's Ice Cream, and since we all are convinced that we make the world's best products, we all have different opinions. But you can write in a question to these people and get 20 different responses, and it's a great way to get information about our industry. Again, if you walk into the business, they're probably not going to give you any information, but if you ask them online, they'll be glad to help you. Now, he's got this product's already done. Look how beautiful. Can you step to the side a little bit so the camera can get your good side? Perfect. That was easy. Now, if you want to come up and taste this, this is an unbelievable
You
product.
probably don't want ice cream, but you should taste this.
Yeah.
This is the simplest, smoothest ice cream you'll ever taste.
So come on up.
This is an oh wow flavor.
We're having lunch in a few minutes, so don't fill up too much. I always get a kick out of it. People come because they know they're going to get free ice cream and ices, and they're all excited about it. Well, somewhere around 1:30 this afternoon before we close down, I'll ask them would they like to make one more product. They're going, oh, no more product. No more ice cream. I can't take it.
I eat it until I pass out.
Well, you may be passing out.
I know, very good. It's good ice cream. This is a big seller in my store.
Now this ice cream, I'll try to hold it up if there's any left, is pale pink in color, and that comes from the candy canes, and that's it. Now, do you serve this year-round, Jeff, or do you just have it at Christmas? You do.
People come in just for this.
Let me just show people what that looks like. Go ahead. Now look at it with a pretty color that is. That's a gorgeous product. Now, Jeff and I are doing something that I got to tell you a quick story about. I was teaching a lady how to make ice cream years ago, and she was, well, she shouldn't have been eating a lot of ice cream. Let's put it that way. And we made about 30 batches of ice cream in one day, and every time we made a batch, she took a spoonful of the ice cream. And I said at the end of the day, "Madam, I have to warn you about something. Did you intend to eat 30 ounces of ice cream today?" "Oh, I didn't do that." I said, "Yes, you did. You took a 1-ounce portion of everything that we made. You consumed 30 ounces of ice cream today. If you do that every day that you're making ice cream, you're not going to be happy with yourself." So even though the product's great, don't fall in love with your own product, because it can put some weight on. But it is a great, great ice cream. We'll be breaking as soon as Paula tells us in a few minutes for lunch. And then we'll come back here and we'll start all over again. But can I answer any questions in the meantime? Yes.
When you buy this ice cream mix, what are the various sizes you can buy it in?
It only comes in 2.5-gallon bags. And there's 2 bags to a box. So you're going to get a 5-gallon quantity of ice cream. And they'll have a minimum order that you have to buy. So when I buy from Ice Cream Mix in St. Pete, which is my closest supplier, I have to buy 5 cases. So that's 10 bags.
No, he takes that
here's
home
Paula
real
with the
fast.
lunch. Yippee.
He nails that
yes.
pretty fast.
Have any problem with quality from different suppliers, and you try to find the best quality?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Talking about the ice cream mix, the ice cream blend.
Good,
Ken, I'll get to you in a second. One good question
taste the candy
is,
cane?
how do you pick a dairy
lift that up
supplier?
1 second.
Well, think of it this way. You're going to be giving them $30,000, $40,000 a year in your business. That's a lot of money. So if I had 3 dairies, if I'm in St. Louis and I've got 3 dairies available to me, I bring in all 3. They've all got, say, 14%. I'll have all 14% come in, and I will run 3 separate batches without any vanilla in it, what we call sweet cream ice cream. No flavor. I'll run all 3 batches, and then I'll have you all in, all my friends, and we'll do a taste test. And people will say, "Oh, a blind taste test. Oh, I like the taste of number 2. Well, I like the taste of number 3. Well, number 2 got most of the votes. And I personally like mix number 2. So that's a point for that dairy. Now, the next point is how much does it cost? Well, blend number 2 costs 20 cents a gallon more than blend number 3, but I really like number 2. So I'll pay the 20 cents more a gallon to get that one. And then the third one, and the most important one, is, do I like the people selling it to me? Back in New York, and I don't want to name names because they'll show up with a limo and I'll be in the trunk, but we had a couple of different dairies, one of which I will name, Panza and Sons, a wonderful family business. And what made them wonderful is they realized one year, oh, everybody's having a really bad winter, incredible snow, nobody's making the money they should. So Panza and Son says to its suppliers, "Don't worry about it. We'll cut back on. We'll sell you whatever mix you want. We'll cut back on the pricing, what you owe us, until July when you're making money, and it'll all balance out, and everybody will be happy." That's a really good supplier to work with. The other supplier, you're 5 minutes late, they send Bruno over to break your kneecap with a baseball bat. You know, I don't want that. I'm spending $30,000. I don't want to see Bruno with a baseball bat. So, do you like the taste? Is the price okay? And do you like the people? If you don't like the people and you're going to be married to them for a bunch of years in this business, then I probably don't want to do business with them. And that's my criteria for finding a mix. And it seems to work very well. Anybody else?
And what about the price range for these 2.5 gallon guys?
I couldn't tell you because fortunately it varies week to week, the price of the mix, the blend, depending on what the output is for cows. If you have a really bad winter in the Midwest, the cows don't produce as much cream and the price goes up. Fortunately, unlike other commodities like, say, coffee, as soon as there's more cream on the market, the price goes down. So there's average prices.
Did you say that the price of the mix varies?
Yes.
I haven't found that.
Well, other dairies vary it depending on what their cost is.
No kidding.
You should ask them. You should say, I see butter prices are down and dairy prices are down. Mine should cost less.
Yeah, I'll tell Rich that, right?
Yeah, you should. Ken, you had a question?
Question from Jay Bethel. How can I make sure that the gelato consistency is right?
How you know the consistency? If you like it, it's right. And if it tastes good. The consistency is a function of the fat content and the speed that you run it at, and nothing else. When I was growing up, my father would make ice cream, but he made it differently from me. I make ice cream to show people how to make ice cream. Dad would make ice cream to see what he could break on the machine. So the product takes about 8 minutes. Dad and Uncle June, Emery Thompson Jr., would run it for about 40 or 50 minutes to see if anything would break on the machine. And then he'd bring it home to us. And so we grew up hating ice cream because Dad's ice cream was the most awful stuff on earth. So there's a case of the consistency and the texture all being terrible because you weren't running the machine right. You don't run a machine for 40 minutes. So I can't really answer that. It depends on what you're looking for. You had a question.
Yeah, about dairy suppliers, typically you usually get delivered once a week. Is that how most people order?
Good question. What is the typical delivery? It depends on how far you are away from the dairy. Now, this product has to be treated like milk. It is milk and cream. It's a fresh product. So when you buy milk at the supermarket, you bring it home and you put it in your refrigerator. The dairy is coming to your store and they're putting it into, and we're like Ken's job with the computers, bits and bytes and bauds. I don't understand any of it, but it's the language he speaks. We talk about a mixed storage box. Well, a mixed storage box is a place where you store the mix. The rest of us would call it a refrigerator. So the question becomes, is this dairy delivering once a week or twice a week? Well, if it's delivering once a week and I need the same amount of mix every week, I need a bigger refrigerator to store my mix than if they deliver twice a week. So when you're setting up the store, it's a very good question. Gee, I really like this mix from Panza and Sons, and they deliver twice a week, so I don't have to buy a giant walk-in room for my mix because Panza's coming on Monday and Friday. So very good question, very good to ask the dairy, how often do you deliver?
What would be, I mean, when I get mine Tuesday night. Last night they delivered it, and I freeze it.
Yeah.
And then the night before, I tell the girls, take it out, and I'm making ice cream the next morning.
Yeah, no problem.
No problem.
No, you can freeze mix. It freezes very well, and it'll last a long time in the freezer because, you know, all of a sudden, Jeff is having this great business on September 17th, and on September 19th, here comes, you know, Hurricane Carl, and just, you know, wipes out any sales for the next 4 days. Well, if he leaves the mix frozen in the freezer, it doesn't matter. You know, he's not turned it into ice cream. So that's often an alternative. Some parts of the country, you can get into some pretty remote areas where they may have to ship the mix in by someone like, say, Cisco or other big food purveyors, and you're only going to get a delivery once every week or maybe even as bad as once every 2 weeks, then yes, you would freeze your mix. So that's a handy alternative.
See, this would go into the super mix right here. Really?
Other stores call this the kitchen sink.
Right.
They take the Rerun, as it's known, and put it all into a big bucket and say, well, that's the kitchen sink for tonight. And it always becomes the favorite flavor. Another favorite flavor, and I mentioned it a second ago, is sweet cream ice cream. Sweet cream ice cream is Jeff working till 11 o'clock at night. He's dog tired, he's making mistakes, and he finishes a batch and goes, oh my gosh, I forgot to put the vanilla in the vanilla ice cream. Well, rather than throw it out, you put up a sign out front the next day that says, special today, sweet cream ice cream. All it is the ice cream mix without any vanilla in it. And it's delicious. That in some stores, I know some stores in the Midwest where that's their #1 selling flavor. So whatever you can, whatever the public enjoys. Yes?
Actually, my sister's watching this. We had a question. How we control the consistency American ice cream with gelato?
And your sister's in New York?
Yeah.
What's it to you? The consistency is all controlled by the infinite overrun. The other Italian gelato machines, you get one consistency and that's it. You have no variation whatsoever. You have no say in the matter. I can vary this from any speed I want. There's maximum speed too. You can't see this, but that's 234 RPMs it's showing. And so all I'm doing is slowing it down. There's going through 150, there's 109 RPMs. As I was mentioning during the break, and I don't know if you caught it or not, if you take some heavy cream and put it into a bowl, and you take the missing whisk from this room and stir it with that, it'll remain heavy cream. If you take an electric blender and put it in there, boom, it becomes whipped cream. That's, in simple terms, that's what the infinite overrun control is doing, is we're speeding up how fast we're whipping it, and that controls the air and the texture. So you can have virtually any texture you want. You don't like the texture at 140, run it at 120, or run it at 160. That simple. Anybody else? Great, let's break for lunch. We'll be back here in about a half hour. And there's sandwiches over there, sodas, there's ice in the cooler, there's water in the kitchen, bottled water. And anything you need, just see any of us.
Are we on?
Yeah, we've been on for a while.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I just wanted to discuss one thing with you. I don't use dipping cabinets. And the reason I don't use them is a few. I told you this before, but I'll tell them. First of all, the ice cream doesn't keep well. It gets all frosty, and the dipping cabinets are remarkably expensive. And then you have a set number of flavors you can handle. If you get an 8-flavor dipping cabinet, that's it. You're done. 16 or 32, whatever. And the ice cream doesn't keep. You always see them frosty and stuff like that. I just don't like it. So I'm the only ice cream store that I've ever been in where you can't see the ice cream. And yet we're wildly successful because I use these, and you know, I do everything on the cheap. So these are all over my store. And I have 5 of them because I have 34 or so flavors. And these are colorful. I make them myself on the computer, then I bring it to Office Depot on a flash drive, and they print them up for me. They laminate them, they print them, they mount them, and then I hang them. And when people come into the store, they look around, and I tell them, those are the flavors across from the kitchen where I serve everything from. And they stand there and they read them, and it takes them a few minutes. And then when they come up, there's no asking for samples. There's no, can I see this ice cream? There's no, what does that look like? Or what's in that one? They just say, I'll have this, I'll have that. There's no sizes to discuss. There's no toppings to discuss. There's nothing. It's ice cream. I'm a purist. The ice cream is what it's all about. And the ice cream is delicious. It's really creamy and smooth and good. So these, I make them on the computer with Print Shop, which cost me $20. And then I just put them on a flash drive on my keychain. I bring it to Office Depot, and the next day I have these signs. And whenever I run out of something or want to change it, I just put these blank ones over there, and I print these up on the computer, and that's that. So I can easily change flavors and stuff. But if you want a dipping cabinet, that's great. You know, that's what's good for you. I'm just telling you what's good for me. Any questions about anything? It's like an oil painting out here.
No, we got to keep moving.
Okay, keep moving. Okay, now we're going to make white chocolate Pinot Grigio. Interesting flavor. It does have alcohol in it. In here we have 16 ounces of mix, 36 ounces of water, 36 ounces of sugar, and then I have the secret ingredient. The secret ingredient, as I have about a dozen secret ingredients in the book that have taken me so long. Giardelli's in San Francisco, they make unbelievable stuff. They make white chocolate and dark chocolate. And I use these in so many ice creams because they're delicious. You'll taste this one. This is sweet ground white chocolate, and the other is sweet ground dark chocolate. Okay, so I've got 6 ounces of that. And what we're going to do is we're going to pour this, which is the mix, the water, and the sugar, into the machine, making sure that this is closed. And after this goes in, you'll all chuckle. Because now what goes in is 2 bottles of Pinot Grigio. What speed is this?
This is an ice cream?
It's ice cream.
Well, let's take it up a bit. Let's take it to 190. Change it up a bit.
Okay, 190 it is. 190.
Now, while Jeff's adjusting the speed, the ability to put alcohol into the machine, you can't do this successfully with other machines because they don't have enough refrigeration capacity. Alcohol is never going to freeze. It's going to stay in suspension in the ice cream or the sorbet. But our refrigeration systems are so heavy that you can just pour this in all day long.
That's why these machines, you can make ice cream out of anything. You can buy nacho chips and make nacho chip ice cream. Anything you want. I'm telling you, if you buy another machine, and really, we're not even friends, then you're just delaying the time when it comes that you'll get this, because the science of ice cream is one thing, the art of ice cream is here. You can make so many things with. All right, so we're adding 2 bottles of the cheapest Pinot Grigio you can find on the planet, $2.77 a bottle at Walmart, and we're adding 2 bottles of it.
Yum.
Yum. And this will be, whoops, white chocolate Pinot Grigio. I forgot the white chocolate. Right in, and I usually save a little to get the rest of it, but we'll do it with a spatula. And I'm going to give it a half a minute to, what's the word, dissolve or mix. Or whatever it is.
You don't have to, but you can.
And then, meanwhile, I'll show you the great cork trick, where you take 2 corks here and you just do that. Looks easy, huh? One more time.
This is the best you've got?
You want to try it?
This is the best you've got?
Okay, watch. You go from here to there.
Wow.
Go ahead.
I'm shocked.
Go ahead.
How about this? Why am I doing this?
Go ahead.
I'm going to put them like that. I'm going to put them like that. Look, they did it. Fantastic. Amazing. One thing about glass. You're going to turn that on?
Yeah.
You don't want any glass in your ice cream room. Of course, this is an exception because it's the only way we're going to get the wine. But take this and put it immediately in the trash. Using a ridiculous example, and all your other containers are all plastic. Now, this is a little bit extreme, but let's say you have a wine glass and you're in your dining room, and all of a sudden you drop the wine glass on the floor. You know that glass shatters, and you're picking up shards of glass in the living room and the kitchen. It just goes everywhere. If I drop this, it's probably going to break into 2 pieces. If this was made out of Pyrex glass, it would definitely just break into 2 pieces. But we're in the food business. We can't, even though we can put the bottle back together and say, yep, there's the 2 pieces, we can't risk that anything would ever get into the ice cream. See how the top is closed? There's no way a shard of glass could get into there. But I want to sleep at night, so if I just drop this and I'm making ice cream, believe me, I would dump that product no matter what it costs me. I would clean out the machine twice, and I would start over, because I don't want to wake up at 2 in the morning and worry about, did a shard of glass get into my ice cream? So a better way to do it, don't have glass in your ice cream room. Or if you have to have it like this, go throw it out in the trash.
Unfortunately, the wine I buy doesn't come in plastic.
Same thing with chemicals. If we're using Clorox bleach, some Italian ice people use a product called citric acid. I don't like it. But citric acid is clear. It looks exactly like Clorox bleach, and it comes in a gallon jug just like Clorox bleach. If I'm using Clorox bleach to sanitize my machine, then take the Clorox when you're finished and put it out of the room or into a cabinet that's closed, because I don't want to wake up at 2 in the morning and say, oh my gosh, did I put citric acid in the lemon ice that I sold to Universal Studios, or did I put Clorox bleach? You don't want to have these nightmares, so don't get into bad habits.
And technically, you're not allowed to keep any bleach in your ice cream room. When you're inspected, you can't do that. Okay, how to make vanilla extract. You want to write this down? It's kind of cool. This is a general rule. You can change it however you want. Use a 1/4 pound of beans for every quart of extract. Chop the beans into pieces, about a 1/2 inch.
1/4 pound for every?
What?
1/4 pound of beans for every?
1/4 pound beans for a quart. And you can slice them if you want, or chop them if you want. It doesn't matter. Just throw them in there. And then use the least expensive vodka you can, and shake it daily for a month. Label it. What I do is I have a constant cycle of this. And instead of vodka, you can use bourbon. It's going to be really good. So that's how to make your own vanilla extract. and it's really good. What's that? How much vodka? Well, I use a quart. You know, a ball jar. Is that what they're called? Those mason jars, you know, with the double lids. Yeah, I use those. Not the pint ones, the bigger ones. And I buy them at the flea market. I get a case for 12 bucks, about $1 a jar. And you constantly reuse them. But man, when you taste your own vanilla, it's cool. It tastes, and the vodka, the bourbon one, really good.
No problem with the health department. Look at coming by and see that you're doing that.
No, why? That's okay. Oh no, not at all. Just give them ice cream.
Well, here's the counterpoint. Mr. Practical here. If you don't have time to go by and shake your vanilla several times a day for the next 2 weeks, why not buy the best vanilla on earth from Nielsen Massey or from Lockheed? This is fabulous stuff. Are you doing all that vanilla for the ounce per gallon every day? You have a lot of time on your hands. Most of us are running QuickBooks and doing an awful lot of other stuff.
I hire an accountant. Whenever I do the vanilla beans, I put them aside in a plastic bag, and then I throw them into the thing.
Are you doing all your vanilla that way?
Yeah.
You don't use any of this?
Oh no, I do buy vanilla.
Oh, that wasn't clear. It makes it sound like you're substituting all your vanilla.
Well, I'm using less and less.
Okay.
Because I enjoy it. Why make your own ice cream? You can just buy it at the store.
No, it's not the same.
Ah!
No, you're.
It's not the same.
Oh no, what are you, a Democrat? You're taking my words out of context. He is a Democrat. Uh-oh.
I'm an independent thinker. I always have been.
Yeah. I think that's code word for Democrat.
Oh, stuff it.
That's okay. We allow Democrats in here once in a while.
You're political. You're racist. What is that?
Thank you. I am.
What is that?
That's taster's choice.
That's how you have to do the. You know, they make it in jars.
This is the way Paula bought it. Are you going to argue with my wife?
No.
I'm not.
Okay, white chocolate Pinot Grigio ice cream. Woo! Anybody want to try the cork trick? You think it's easy, right? It looks easy. I go from that to that. Can't do it. Okay, any questions? Yes?
Do you ever add dyes, like color dyes, your ice cream to like make chips or present?
Are you kidding?
I just want to make color. No, you've never had color?
Oh, no. You see how ugly the color was on the first thing I made? That's it.
I like that. I like that question. The audience in the camera didn't hear that. Was do we ever use any food coloring? And my answer is in agreement with Jeff. Shockingly, no, I don't, because people have gotten too savvy. They know that green is food coloring and nothing else. And yes, it may attract children, but I don't want red dye 47 or yellow 18. These are not healthy products. They're not good for you. And how can we say that we're making a fresh homemade product if we're then throwing in artificial colors? It just flies in the face of what our business model is. Of our business model.
Yes. You had a question.
When you use alcohol, to make this particular ice cream, do you have any county requirements to use alcohol?
Oh, sure. You have to abide by your city, state, and federal guidelines. For instance, in the state of Florida, there are 45 classifications of using alcohol. Everywhere from a packaged goods store to a bar to a country club to a restaurant. So you have to find the category you fit in. The licenses aren't expensive. They go from $99 a year to $4,000 a year, depending upon what kind of alcohol you're using. So you must abide by your local state ordinances. Okay, ready? Oh, this is good. Are you going to have some, right? Come on. You've never had Pinot Grigio ice cream before. You're not driving now, and it's not going to hurt you.
Isn't this amazing? People are actually tired of eating ice cream after being here for 4 hours.
Oh, that's so silly. Okay, ready? You better eat this. Hey, thanks, man. You can open these up too.
Coffee ice cream, Coffee Kahlua. Except we bought these silly
It's
little
not Coffee
packages.
Kahlua, that's redundant. It's Kahlua or it's coffee.
I don't have Kahlua in the morning with breakfast.
Okay. White chocolate Pinot Grigio. I'm sorry?
Italian ices with this?
You could,
wine?
you could,
I
sure.
like the flavor.
This formula for making an Italian ice with wine is a bottle, the recipe is a bottle of wine and a bottle of water. And you just keep multiplying depending on the size of your machine. On the little 3-quart over there, that would be 2 bottles of wine, 2 bottles of water, 2 pounds of sugar, and that's it. Yeah, I do it all the time.
Nice flavor.
Okay, now we're going to move on to the little machine.
Oh, is that refreshing?
We're going to make a coffee ice cream with
You wanna
Kahlua
say
in
this
it.
or not? Did you taste it?
No, I don't eat that.
Excuse me?
I don't eat it.
What do you mean you don't eat it?
Well, I don't eat the alcohol.
Well, you taste. You could have a taste.
Nope,
No?
nope, don't do it.
Oh, I
Okay,
get it.
Coffee Kahlua Gelato, and this is gonna, I've got the recipe here for you. It consists of Taster's Choice coffee. I'm using the decaf because I made some of this and my sister took it home with the
Oh, you
regular
wanna taste
Taster's
this?
Choice and had a large portion of
taste
it
this?
at 11 o'clock at night and was up for
Don't
3
ruin it.
days. And was not happy with me. So I found that the decaf works just as well. I use the Taster's Choice, which even though it's a product I would never use, I would never have coffee made from Taster's Choice. I like Starbucks or I like coffee beans from Hawaii. I'm a coffee snob. So Taster's Choice isn't in there. But when you use it in ice cream, it's fantastic because the freeze-dried crystals dissolve so easily in the ice cream. They dissolve about 90%, which means every once in a while you get a little crunch of a crystal, which again, for a coffee drinker, someone who loves coffee, I mean, it's heaven. And the decaf works as well as does the regular. So now I can eat this and my sister or my wife can eat it at 11 o'clock at night and we're not going to be up all night. So I'm going to use the Taster's Choice, some of the dairy, ounce of vanilla, some Hershey syrup, and the Kahlua. You know what I think we're going to need? I'm going to need is some ice cream mix. It's in the other refrigerator.
How much you need? I got some here.
I'm going to need, well, I got a little machine. So 4 quarts.
Oh, no, I don't have that here.
So I'll need a bigger bag.
Why don't you phrase that in the form of a question?
Why don't you talk while I get the bigger bag?
Oh, okay, be glad to. I could get it for you if you want.
I got it.
Okay. Any questions? I got nothing else to say.
Delicious.
That's good, isn't it?
What size
didn't
ice
expect
cream do
that.
you serve again in your store?
What's that?
What size ice cream again? How many, what's the serving?
Big.
14 ounce.
Big. 12 to 14 ounce servings.
It's crazy. That's like so much ice cream.
So much money.
What do you get? What's the price in a scoop?
$6. $6. That includes the tax. Yes, sir.
Someone mentioned that you said you used a standard freezer to store your product, and what do you dip from?
I dip from the standard freezers. I try to buy, this is not rocket science, guys. This is, you know, use your head. I look in the classifieds every day for freezers. I have 12 of them now. And I pay $100 from people looking to get rid of upright freezers. And some of them that I bought for $100 are even commercial. They're huge. They hold 30 gallons of ice cream. And that's what I use. I have 12 of them. Mostly because I'm cheap. But second, if anything goes wrong with your freezer, I still have 11 other backups.
And that's the key.
And I'm thinking now of getting a walk-in, but I'm really nervous about it because something happens to your walk-in, you got thousands of dollars of product in there, so I don't know what to do.
Okay, so this formula calls for the 4 quarts of mix, which I've got here. I'll pour that in, making sure the gate is closed.
Tell them what you're doing there.
This is 4 quarts of the dairy going into the machine. That's not a very reliable timer. It seems to go off about once every half
Look
hour.
at it. It's a little plastic ice cream
Yeah,
cone.
but my bookkeeper gave it to me. So, okay, we've got the 4 quarts of mix. We're going to add an ounce of vanilla. Have you seen the gallon jug of vanilla? Here we go.
Top
Thank you.
shelf.
And I'm not big on measuring. I have an idea of what an ounce is. That'll do that.
You're still not going to my proportions, right?
4 ounces of, not on this particular product. Jeff was just saying, and it's a good question, he was complaining that I wasn't going to his proportions
Not complaining.
He uses an ounce of vanilla per quart. But the predominant flavor here is not vanilla. The predominant flavor is coffee. So I'm just using the vanilla as a slight bolster to what I've already got in there.
I disagree.
The 4 ounces of Hershey's syrup. Now, the interesting thing about the Hershey syrup, Hershey's, of course, is not a huge, it's not the fanciest stuff in the world. But with coffee, especially the freeze-dried crystals, you get a bite to it from instant coffee. And by adding a little bit of chocolate syrup to your coffee ice cream, it takes away the bite. You'll never taste the chocolate, but you'll see that the product has a nice smooth taste to it. So we've got that in there. Still have to add the Kahlua. And I can go ahead and turn that on even though I'm going to add more ingredients. This one I'll measure. Do we have, yeah, there's a measuring cup. That should do, if it's still readable. I'm going to use 7 ounces. Now, coffee liqueur, or this particular coffee liqueur, this is the famous one, of course, Kahlua. And Kahlua is very expensive. And there are other coffee liqueurs out there that are way less expensive that will do the same job. Because after all, you're putting it into an ice cream base. So it's not like pouring Kahlua on the rocks or making a Black Russian where it might be critical that you use a quality product. So I would find something cheaper than Kahlua. I just like it because it's a name that everybody recognizes. If you make I make a Grand Marnier liqueur ice cream at Christmas, which is the dairy product, the Grand Marnier orange liqueur, and a lot of it. It's got the aroma and the taste of the orange, and then I take about 6 California oranges and grate off the skin with a cheese grater, what a chef calls the zest, and I put it in there, and I end up with a pure white product with little specks of orange in it. It's beautiful. But there is no close substitute that I have found for Grand Marnier. You can use triple sec, but it really isn't the same thing. So in that case, I'm using the name brand. But here, you could find a cheaper coffee liqueur than Kahlua. If you're doing a rum raisin ice cream, I like to use, I might use a very cheap rum, but also use some Bacardi if I think I can get away with, calling it Bacardi rum raisin ice cream. Or whatever people feel is a great brand. I spent a lot of time in the Caribbean. I don't think Bacardi's a great brand. I like Cruzan or some of the other ones down there. But it's a name that's known. And sometimes you can capitalize on the name. But speaking of capitalizing on the names, you see cookies and cream everywhere. It actually goes back to a customer of mine, Mike's Ice Cream on Route 3 in Secaucus, New Jersey, probably 25 years ago. And Mike was about the first person, or maybe have been the first person, to throw Oreo cookies in ice cream and called it Oreo cookie ice cream. Well, don't you know, some middle management person came along from Nabisco and said, you can't call it Oreo, it's our name, it's our brand, and we're going to sue you if you don't stop. I mean, they weren't looking at the big picture, that there would be millions of ice cream parlors advertising Oreo cookies for them. So to this day, you only see it called cookies and cream instead of Oreo cookies, because there really is no close substitute for Oreo cookies. Hydrox is out of business, but even when it wasn't as good. But that was a marketing mistake on their part. But sometimes it's fun to use the brand name things that people recognize. So we do have the Hershey's, the Kahlua, the vanilla, the mix, the Taster's Choice. We got everything in there. A very simple ice cream. No, we don't have everything in there. Look, forgot the coffee. But see, it brings up a good point. We're not frozen down yet, so you can still add stuff at any time, and it's going to perfectly blend in here without any problem. I came up with two terms a while back that I use for making ice cream. I call it fruit flavor and fruit identity. Because it's an Emery Thompson, we can put the fruit right in here. So I've got, if I'm making strawberry ice cream, I put strawberries in here. So for every particle of vanilla mix, there's a particle of strawberry right next to it. If you're blindfolded and asked to taste that ice cream, you'll say, yeah, that's strawberry ice cream. You take the blindfold off and it's pale pink, it has little seeds in it, but there's really no identity. There's no chunks of strawberries. So if my recipe on a bigger machine is 2 quarts of strawberries, I put 1 quart in here, which gives me my fruit flavor, and the second quart, instead of opening up the gate full wide, I open it maybe halfway, and I shake in my pieces of strawberry. So I have the fruit flavor and the fruit identity. It tastes like strawberry, you can see the strawberries. And I translate that over to everything. Oreo cookies, 1 bag in the machine. The other bag, I take each cookie and snap it between my thumbs so it breaks into about 3 pieces. And then as the ice cream's coming out, I'm shaking in the Oreo cookies. I've already got the nice brown color of the ice cream from the Oreos that are in there, but then I'm adding the cookies for effect as it's coming out. Something like whole nuts. If you're buying walnuts, these machines will take whole walnuts and break them into quarters. You wouldn't want to give someone a whole walnut in their ice cream. So putting them in here, it's going to break them into quarters. But then why spend the money on whole walnuts, which are really expensive, when you can buy a box of walnut pieces for a fraction of the cost, and then you pour the walnut pieces in here and they don't break up any further. So you get the same net result, but you save a lot of money. Let's see what else I can think of to tell you. Any questions so far? No? Everybody's getting a blank stare from eating so much. We talked about wholesale, health department, keeping things clean.
Need me to talk?
What do you want to talk about?
Oh, I don't know. Find out anything.
I know you'll find something.
Sure.
Also, when you go around and you meet with like the restaurant chefs and things in the morning, how did you transport your ice cream coolers?
I froze it down rock solid, and and I put it into just an igloo cooler. And it's something, I mean, chefs should know this, but if they don't, you can very politely say, you know, chef, the best way for you to handle my Bordeaux wine sorbet, instead of going out and buying a separate dipping cabinet, it's rock hard in your freezer, take it out at 4 p.m. and move it to your refrigerator, and by 7 o'clock when you're ready to serve it, it'll soften up to where you can scoop it. If the dinner menu is going to go on till 10:30, you can be moving it back and forth from freezer. They don't mind doing it. They have plenty of help. They don't have space. They got lots of people.
Portable freezer that just sits in the back of your car and plugs into your cigarette lighter. And it takes it down to -12, so you can travel with that for days. If you're going to do a route to places, selling to restaurant, not all it's cracked up to be.
But all this can be done as you make money. You may not have the money to buy a freezer for your car. So when you're starting out and you're getting business, do it as inexpensively as you can. A igloo cooler is fantastic. I go back to a lot of stores and they're selling ice cream, and I say, well, what about the Italian ice? And they're not selling Italian ice. They say, you're not using your machine to its potential. Well, all right, I'll try it, but I got to go buy a separate cabinet? No. Get one of these round igloo coolers that they use at job construction sites for the employees. They're heavily insulated. You can make the lemon ice right here, dump it into that cooler, and then put it into your dipping cabinet, because your dipping cabinet's at 6 degrees, the ice is 16. So to keep it actually from hardening up, we keep it in the cooler. Customer walks in, hey Steve, how you doing? Oh, what's that in your cabinet? Oh, that's my new lemon ice I'm trying. Oh, let me try some. The difference, something being different in the store, attracts them to try it. And so if you're not sure if Italian ice is going to sell and you don't want to buy a $1,000 cabinet, you try it out in the store, see how successful it is, which it will be. And it does, ices, sorbets, they don't take away from your ice cream sales. They complement the ice cream sales. So do that. When I was growing up, and Jeff too, McDonald's consisted of a freestanding building that sold a hamburger, fries, and a milkshake, for the most part. And they were open from 11 in the morning till 11 at night. That was McDonald's. Then one day someone came along, some genius, and said, you know what? The parking lot's here, the building is here, the deep fat fryer is here. Why don't we open for breakfast? And fast food was born. Real fast food. Now they're open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Same concept. You've bought this batch freezer that has all this capability. Why not expand on the capability? Write down a list tonight. Who could I sell this product to? Well, the 4-H club has a big thing once a year. Let's go approach them. The firemen have a benefit. Let's give them some free ice cream. We've got these 3 restaurants in town. Let's see if we can sell them. Figure out where you could use the machine and what other products you could use it with. Don't, you know, I put people into the Italian ice business because it's very inexpensive. And then I try to get them expand a year or 2 later into maybe ice cream. Sometimes they stay just with Italian ice. But the idea is you've got the equipment, you've got the facilities, you've got this room. Why not see what else you could do with it? I mean, if it doesn't sell, you haven't lost anything. Your fallback is your original business, but you just might expand into something that no one else in town is filling that niche market and make a lot of money. I'm sorry?
How many flavors of Italian ice is common in the business?
How many flavors of Italian ice? Not as much as ice cream. It used to be in the old days up in New York that you did lemon, cherry, grape, orange, and chocolate. And that was it. And then it was actually Ralph's Italian Ices in Staten Island who started to expand that into the cream ices and other flavors. So now he's selling Oreo cookie Italian ice, pina colada, green apple. It's limitless. You have to keep the old standbys. And one thing I've told people about, let me check on this, because I don't have a timer going. If 3 people walk into my office today, and I have to guess what's your favorite flavor of Italian ice, of ice cream, I can't do it. I have no idea. I can't say he likes mint chip, she likes maple walnut. Can't do it. 3 people walk in, and I'm selling them Italian ice, and that person's Italian, their favorite flavor is going to be lemon. That person's black, their favorite flavor is going to be cherry, grape, or watermelon. That person's Hispanic, it's going to be pina colada. That person's Jewish from New York, it's probably going to be chocolate. And if you're a Presbyterian like me, you hire a committee to make the decision for you. But it is that ethnic. And people are saying, oh, you're being racist. No, I'm not. I'm being a businessman. I'm saying that tomorrow I'm doing a trade fair. I'm doing a fair in South Central LA. Well, hell, don't bring lemon ice. Bring the pina colada flavorings, because that's what's going to sell. If you're doing the Feast of San Gennaro in Little Italy, bring lemon ice. If you're doing something up in Harlem, bring cherry ice. If you're doing the Puerto Rican Day Parade down 5th Avenue, bring the coconut flavors. And that's wonderful. I know in advance what I'm going to sell. Let me see how this looks. That's looking pretty good. I'll give it a little bit longer, but you can see how unimportant timing is. I mean, this isn't automatic. This is just, you know, you could have written down today the times on every different thing and then expand from there. If he's doing a solid flavor like this, well, it's probably going to take 8 minutes. If he's throwing in alcohol, the alcohol is never going to freeze. It's going to take longer to freeze. It'll never look super dry like the one we did this morning. It's always going to have a shine to it because it's got the alcohol in it. But you can come up with these pretty basic recipes.
Do you have any malt?
No, not at all.
Is there a difference between water, ice, base, and base?
Yeah. That base, that's just sugar and water. Okay, I'm going to open this up. I'm turning off the refrigeration, opening it up, and here comes my product. I'm even going to speed it up. I use round tubs for the Italian ice. I use round tubs for everything. That's a 3-gallon tub. Yeah, they're sold by Plastic Can is a company in Leominster, Mass. There's other companies that make those. A lot of them are at my website.
What is this? Kahlua.
Kahlua. Let's see, it's got all that alcohol in it, and still it's a nice, stiff, dry product.
It's dry, not
Yes. No, the powder doesn't dissolve. So that's it. We've got a nice, there's a beautiful product right there. Isn't that good? And it doesn't have that bite that you get from a lot of coffee because of the little bit of Hershey syrup in there.
Okay, next up,
Is you.
you're all so hungry and you want more ice cream, is malted milk ball ice cream. A scant 3 ingredients. I buy these. I usually buy them in the larger bags, but this, on short notice, that's all we had. So I buy Whoppers, mix. Now the Whoppers, ideally they're cold, frozen, but it doesn't matter, they're not today. And you pop them right in here. And you let them go.
And the first winning number is 3.
I love this machine. Oh, it's so great.
That's nice.
All right. Now, if you were with us last month, to blend it, you don't have a whisk, really?
I don't. I tell you, Paul and I make reservations. We don't make dinner.
I don't know. You need a whisk, or what I use, somebody turned me on to it last time, and I told you on this program, I took a drill, a Craftsman drill, and a paint mixer that I bought at Home Depot for $3, a long, those paint mixers, and I cut it a little bit, and I mix everything with that. It works so good. It's stainless steel, and to clean it, you just put it on in the water, and it's done. It's a good thing. We'll throw a few more of these in, because I don't want to go home with them. Now, also, you can hear what I'm saying, right? Also, you know how we go supermarketing, right? Well, the thing to do is to go to ethnic markets, Asian markets, Oriental markets, any of those foods that we're not familiar with. Some people, I found in the Hispanic markets especially, they have great desserts that we don't even know about. They use a lot of guava, and they use a lot of coconut, and they use a lot of dulce de leche, and man, you come up with some weird stuff. I mean, there's jars and cans of stuff you never even saw before, but boy, are they good. So that's what I do. Whenever I can, I go into any kind of ethnic market. Even a Jewish market, you make some, meatloaf, pot roast ice cream.
Have you done that?
It's like an oil painting here, right?
I've got a question from the internet for you.
Good. Help me.
How much time before you opened did you spend taste testing and developing your initial 6 flavors?
My 6 flavors? Oh, how much time? Okay, I bought the batch freezer, and I started working in the house. And it was around December, and I made ice cream until New Year's Eve, when we were invited to a hoi polloi party, and I thought, well, let's see if we can make champagne. So I did. I made, you know, the Pinot Grigio we had. If you substitute champagne for it, wow, it's so good. So I made about, I don't know, 10 gallons. And I went to the New Year's Eve party, and that's what kicked off my career. They couldn't believe it. They couldn't get it up after all. When have you had champagne ice cream before? And it was a big fancy New Year's Eve party, and there I am serving this stuff. And at first people were very skeptical, you know. But after the taste got around, they went wild for it. So that, right after that, this is a long story for just a simple answer. Right after that, I opened the store. A month. Long story.
I've talked to people, Jeff, who will spend 2 or 3 years figuring out their formulas. And you know what? I hate to say this to them, but folks, you could have been in business. You could have been making money, and you could have been making mistakes.
You're right.
And then your friends will tell you, you know, that's not so hot. And you improve on it. But get open, get making money.
And
a month is a good amount of time.
You know, they wait and they wait till they're accumulating the funds. And I spoke to a guy in Phoenix, and he said, he called me up, he ordered my book, and then he called me up. And he said, listen, we're approaching the 60 grand we feel we need to open up. 60 grand, I could open up 7 stores with 60 grand. Honestly, I told him that with a batch freezer and 5,000, you're in business. And if the 5,000's a lot, do it on less. And I can do it. I mean, I've done it for a few people already. So,
you can see why I called Jeff, though, why I nicknamed him Tie-Dye Jeff, because he's got 40 shirts exactly like this.
no, only one. I just wear it every day. Oh, just kidding. What speed, sir?
What are we making?
Ice cream.
Ice cream, let's take it.
Homemade ice cream.
Thick homemade ice cream.
Thick, rich, creamy, and sweet homemade ice cream.
Let's do 160.
160.
Yeah, let's take it down.
See, I don't have this on my machine. This is a relatively new idea.
11 years. You were too cheap to buy it when you bought your machine.
That's correct. You are correct, sir. What are we doing here? We're going down to what?
160. Give or take. It's a few RPMs, one way or the other, won't hurt.
How about 165?
Good.
Yep?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So, you're going to eat this, right?
Oh, yes, they are.
All right. I'm not making this for nothing, you know. By the way, he doesn't even supply the ingredients. I have to supply them.
Are you going to turn on the refrigeration?
Not yet.
Let the machine do the work for you. We could have been finished by now.
You're going to turn on the refrigeration. Okay, you know, I think now would be a good time.
Because he said he wants to make a very heavy ice cream like a Haagen-Dazs. So we're going to put less air into it by spinning it less. Very good.
No chips, no malt powder, no spat, no whisks, no rags, no aprons. You know, my hands are tied here. Okay. This is the last one.
Yeah, this is it. After this, we'll give you a tour of the factory. So this is a great time to ask questions. Yes?
How do you make a delicious vanilla?
How do I what? How do I what?
Delicious vanilla. Because vanilla, you can't hide the flavor. You know, it's not like strawberries or something else. What do you do to make the #1 vanilla?
I'm not sure.
Just what he said. He's speaking Southern. Just exactly what you don't speak Southern.
What's the question?
1 ounce of vanilla to every quart is what Jeff uses, and he's going to make a great ice cream. I can translate for you.
That was the question?
Yeah.
Jeff, you also use the beans, though.
You also use
the
vanilla
beans, yes.
Yeah, you use your extract and your beans.
But that's it. You're absolutely right.
Vanilla doesn't necessarily impart a vanilla flavor. Vanilla enhances flavors. That's what I find it does. So when I add vanilla to my, when I add vanilla to my caramel crunch ice cream, I'm not looking to add a vanilla flavor to it. I'm just adding to bolster that caramel flavor.
But in this case, he's only making vanilla.
Who?
He wants to know how to make vanilla.
You're just making vanilla,
Right.
and you want to make it
Really vanilla-y?
really good.
Use the beans. Got to use the beans.
I used to be friends with, and one of the few people who was friends with Tom Carvel. And Tom was funny because he had, as he called them, his spies. And he would send his spies around to his franchises to see how they were doing. And he always told the spies, make sure you taste the vanilla. Because it's the most important ice cream. And if they're cheating on the vanilla, you can be darn sure they're cheating on the maple walnut. So I was secretly selling Carvel stores batch freezers, which he didn't want because it made too much ice cream for him. And so I'd always tell the people who would buy these things secretly, make every flavor in your store on the batch freezer except the vanilla, because his spies are going to check the vanilla. But to this day, when I go to an ice cream parlor, I only buy vanilla because it tells me how the whole store is. You know,
That's another thing. I don't sell any flavors. I don't make or sell any flavors that you can buy in the supermarket. If you can buy it there, I don't sell it. Why would they come to me for a $6 ice cream when they can go to the store and get a gallon for $6? So I don't do it. Yes, but everything's perception. And I just never understood why people would come to my store for vanilla ice cream. Even though it's the #1 ice cream in the world, I don't sell it. And every night people come in, you don't have vanilla? And have a big sign, no vanilla, no chocolate, no strawberry, no butter pecan, nothing that you can buy in the store.
and no small portions. And if you don't like it, get out.
And no toppings.
No chocolate. All these restrictions, you can tell he's from New York.
Whipped cream.
No whipped cream.
Well, my
Yes.
store is BYOWC. In my store is BYOWC. Bring your own whipped cream. No, I don't sell any toppings. No nuts, no fudge, no whipped cream, no sprinkles, no jimmies, none of that. It's about the ice cream.
If you're doing Italian ices, you don't need a great location because the product costs less. You can sell it for $1.50 and make $1.40 profit. So you can be on a side street, you can be in a poor neighborhood because it's a product that can be sold to anyone. Ice cream at, how much is a serving?
In my store?
Yeah.
$6.
Okay, how many people with 4 children and 2 adults are going to pay $6? They can't afford it. It's ready.
It's ready. I don't see them jumping.
I think they're full. If you have any questions, you're welcome to call me, Steve Thompson. Our phone number is 718-588-7300, or contact me at steve@emerythompson.com. Our prices are right up on the website as far as the machinery, and we'll guide you when you call as to what would be the best size for the size of your store and, most importantly, your budget. Thank you all for coming, and we look forward to doing this again in a few months. Yes. Thank you. I'm sorry? 1 year parts, 90 days labor, a guarantee that the machine arrives in perfect working condition, meaning that if it's damaged in shipment, we'll take care of it, and my home phone number, which is 914-643-7391. And I'm the only CEO in the industry who gives out a phone number, a home phone number. I take calls from 5:30 in the morning till 9 o'clock at night, 7 days a week. So if you have a question about running your machine, we'll get you back up and running.
90 days for
Labor. We test run, as you'll see. We're going to take a tour of the factory if you like. We run every machine that leaves here for 3 hours. So we know when the machine leaves that everything runs perfectly.
Can you repeat the number if you don't mind? Different number?
My house?
Yeah.
914
Don't call the poor guy at home.
You can call me and say hello, but
I can give you a recipe, Latin recipe.
well, we'd like you to call during factory hours. You want it? 914-643-7391. The factory here, I'm here from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. and it's 718-588-7300. That's the easiest way to reach me. Sometimes we let Sadie the Golden answer the phone at home. Would anyone like to see the factory, see how we build them?
Yeah.
Oh, great. If you'll follow me.